to the Wednesday edition of Bibles Through Variety on Old Time Radio 2CM in Newcastle, Australia. Hope you can join us and enjoy the great programs we have for you here on Bibles Through Variety on our radio station, Old Time Radio 2CM. And we like to keep you entertained. And we're going to have, to start off the broadcast today, it's time to introduce John Machin and his program, Australian Radio Review.
Everywhere you go, radio is there, and radio keeps you in the know, 'cause radio is everywhere. Whether you're at work or in your car, at home, the beach, wherever you are, radio entertains you near and far. Wherever you go, there is radio.
Hello and welcome to Australian Radio Review, presenting memories of broadcasting as it used to sound in the golden days of radio. This program looks back on the early years of on-air entertainment. Many who grew up on television will remember their favourite stations and personalities. It's hoped that those who missed out on all that will nonetheless enjoy the on-air checks, interviews, and features we'll present in this series. But caution, listeners should realise that references in recorded segments to time calls and commercial information does not necessarily apply today.
Whether you're at work or in your car, radio entertains you near and far. Wherever you go, there is radio.
Hi there everyone, welcome to Australian Radio Review. In some previous editions of this program, we've presented for you some big specials that some radio stations put on the occasion of the celebration of their birthday. For example, 3AW's 50th Jubilee birthday, we had their 80th, then 3AK with their 70th and several others. This time we're going to have another celebration, not such a big one, but I think you might find it interesting because it deals with 2CM. Yes, 2CM had a birthday party one time. In fact, that goes right back to 1975, around Easter time, when it was time for 2CM to celebrate their 19th birthday. Yes, that's going back a long time now, about 40 years or more, isn't it? And when you stop to think about it, 2CM must have been going now, isn't it? Yes, well, 2CM was at the time in Sydney, in Dulwich Hill. That's where the Rare One and his friends had a training studio for radio announcers and panel operators. They weren't actually broadcasting on the air at the time, but they were simulating it with a closed-circuit system. To explain it more thoroughly, what we did at the time is we made up a little documentary. I made out to be a broadcast interviewer, called on the studios and met the people involved, found out all about how the station operated. And we'll replay that now. It's not very long, it only goes about 20 minutes, but we'll certainly hear some old voices and friends in this, going right back now to 1975.
If you won't let me in, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll take all your butter. Besides butter, anything else tastes second best.
For brighter sounds all year round,
it's the Hi-Fi Service.
for the latest news, weather and train information,
It's the Hi-Fi Service.
and documentaries and novelties galore, it's the Hi-Fi Service.
You're listening to Australian Radio Review on your Hi-Fi service 2CM.
Hello there, everyone. And at the moment, I'm climbing up the staircase at a block of flats here in Dulwich Hill, a suburb of Sydney, at Easter time 1975. And we're just coming up to the door now of a studio called 2CM. I'm going to knock on the door. We'll speak to the proprietor and find out exactly what's going on here this Easter holiday weekend. They know we're coming, so... here we are. Hello there.
Hello, John.
Oh, Kevin.
Hey.
This is Kevin Rare. I was wanting to have a few words with you, if we may, on tape.
Very good. This is 2CM Studios.
Oh, I see you've got quite a lot of people here.
Yes, we have.
Big celebrations this weekend,
Yes,
I believe.
It's the 90th anniversary. Well, it's the 90th anniversary of the station.
Oh,
Since I've been doing this type of work.
yes. And have you got a program in production at the moment?
At the moment, there's a program on at the moment, yes.
Oh, well, good. Well, we'd like to have a chat to you and all who are associated with it to
Yes.
find out exactly what is going on.
Well, let's say who we have here. We have a friend of Melbourne, John Musgrove.
John Musgrove, yes. Hello, John. We know John.
And we have our technician, Malcolm Nurton.
Hello, Malcolm. You do all the technical work, do you? Yes.
And we've got Craig Jacobson on the air at
Yeah.
the moment, and also assisting him is Stephen Murray. But if you'd like to come this way,
Yes. All right. We'll come along with you. Yes.
have a talk and
Yes.
about the
This is another one of the rooms
Yes.
on the premises.
yes.
Oh.
This, by the way, is our residence here actually.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Very good. Well, we'll take a seat here and we'll have a chat.
yes, John.
Well, Kevin, you're operating a model radio station here. Now, what is this actually for?
Well, it's a simulated type of is they go to an announcing school, one of the announcing schools here in Sydney, and then they come out here and practice here at the weekends.
Oh, so this is the actual practical training part of it.
That's right, the practical training.
To get the practice and the experience
That's
of operating the equipment and using what they've learnt at the schools.
That's correct, yes.
Oh, that's a terrific idea. And this particular celebration that's going on this weekend is why?
It's to commemorate 19 years that I have been doing this type of thing.
Oh, I see. All here in Sydney, always?
Well, we first started in Adelaide back in 1956. It was on Easter Saturday, 1956, when we did our very first broadcast.
I presume that you're a South Australian then?
That's correct. I migrated in 62 to Melbourne, and I linked up with you and some other friends
That's right.
in 1962.
Yes.
Since I met you, John, it's has made it possible to go further than we have before.
Yeah.
In Adelaide, I had 2 or 3 people who were interested in the game, but when we first started in 1956, all I had was a radiogram and a tape recorder, and a couple of my school friends used to come around. We used to do shows together, mock broadcasts.
Yes.
Well, some did get into radio. One chap is in radio now and been in radio for as long as I've been doing this,
Marvellous. Yes.
20 years. His name is Barry Hall, and he is now program manager of 5DN.
Yes.
He does not do any broadcasting, but he, for quite a long time, at least 15 of the 20 years that he's been in radio, he had a request program called Choose Your Own.
Yes.
He was one of my friends who, through this, he was able to break into radio. Unfortunately, the same thing didn't happen to me. I would have liked to have been able to break in, but there you are. This just didn't come my way. But
however, you've continued it as a spare time
yes,
interest and hobby.
spare time, interest, and hobby.
Yes.
Yes. Now, what my aim is now, if something that I couldn't achieve, I'll try and achieve, help other people get in.
Very good.
That's-
So you've provided the equipment and the facilities, and there they go. They can do whatever they can to get themselves experienced enough so that when they apply for a job, they can say they are experienced.
That's correct. Yes.
Because that's the hard point, isn't it?
The
in breaking
experience.
into radio.
Yes, that's quite correct. The whole thing is most jobs that are advertised in the broadcast and television magazine request for experienced radio announcers. And it's just not possible to get into radio unless you've had experience. You've got to get experience somewhere. So although there have been jobs occasionally in the broadcast and television magazine, well, they don't require experience. Like there was a job advertised for Channel 9 Sydney quite recently, and they didn't want an experienced announcer. But that's just a few jobs. There's very, very few jobs are advertised with non-experience.
Now, at the moment, you're residing in Sydney,
That's correct.
and you've got quite a lot of people interested in using your facilities.
Yes, we have 6 boys around 15 and 16 years of age.
And so they're waiting for opportunities to
Yeah,
get radio.
well, some are doing it as more or less a little bit of spare time hobby
Yes.
to do just for an interest. But I have at least 4.
What their individual thoughts
Yes.
are on the matter.
Yes,
If you
well, I'll call them in, and perhaps they'd like to talk to you in this regards.
All right.
First of all, John, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Malcolm Nerton, who looks after the technical side of the station.
Amplifier is rather special. Hi-fi amplifier, 60 watts output. We have plenty of power. We don't have any worries about that.
And is that a mixing amplifier?
Yes, mixing 6 channels,
Yes.
some microphones, auxiliary channels. Also
And what do you
pickup.
have feeding into it?
A mixer, in the studio, which is connected to tape recorders, 2 cassettes, and 2 pickups.
Mhm.
Also, we have a reverb unit, which is quite handy.
Oh, yes. Microphones and
Microphones,
speakers?
there's 3 microphones we use.
Yes. And naturally, you'd have plenty of recorded material.
Oh, yes, John, we have approximately 1,500 single records, about close to 300 LPs, lots and lots of cassettes and a lot of tapes too. So we have quite a selection. We can put together quite a good program.
Oh, I see. And what about repairs, servicing, and that type of thing? That would come into your field, I
Yes,
suppose?
normally, yes. If it's a big job we can't handle well, we have to send it away or get somebody in.
Yes, fair enough. And do you ever help out with microphone work?
Sometimes, John. Normally I'm kept very busy. Sometimes I do.
Other than that, I suppose the young trainees handle the equipment quite well?
Oh, quite well, John. We rarely have to say anything. They always do a good job.
Well, John, now we've got one of the announcers on the station, Craig Jacobson.
Hello, Craig.
Good day, John.
How long have you been coming along to the station?
About 3 months.
And what are your main aims and objects?
Oh, just a common interest in music and to improve my voice training.
I see. Have you got any ideas of being a disc jockey or something?
No, actually, I'd like to go into politics.
Oh, into politics?
Yeah.
Well, therefore, with something like this, you'll no doubt get experience in speaking to people and also doing radio and TV work.
That's right, yeah.
And you're interested, no doubt, in community affairs and things like
Yeah,
that?
that's right, yeah.
And I suppose if you could perhaps have a program in a setup like this to do with news and community affairs and that would give you a lot more interest in this type of thing, I suppose.
That's right, John, yeah.
But apart from that, you like music, you say?
Yeah.
And how do you find operating the equipment here? Do you find it a sort of thing to try to overcome, or are you coping quite well with it, do you feel?
At first it was, but now I'm coping quite right, yeah.
What do you think's the hardest part in being a radio announcer?
Well, for me, remembering my speeds and overcoming my nervousness, I think.
Oh, I see. When you say speed, do you think you're inclined to gabble a bit, or perhaps to be a little bit too slow?
Yeah. Sometimes I talk fast after record and other times I talk slow. Not really constant.
And what about actually working the equipment? Do you find it's hard to get a coordination there?
A little bit sometimes, yes.
Yeah. But that's where the experience helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get a real insight as to how it all works.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, well, we wish you all the best, and I hope that your ambitions bear good fruit.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Now, John, we've got Andrew Rizzo, one of our great personalities here on 2CM.
Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
How long have you been using the studios at 2CM?
Oh, for about a year now.
And what particular aspect of radio are you interested in?
Oh, any aspect, really.
What, disc jockey work, news, action,
Yeah, that's all very interesting.
all that type of thing? You're
Yeah.
no doubt a great fan of radio.
That's right, yeah.
Well, you'll certainly get skilled in studio operation and have the practical experience here then.
I think so, yeah.
Well, that's fine. What type of programs are you actually doing here currently?
Mainly modern music, we mostly play.
That's right. Well, I suppose modern music is the thing on commercial radio these days.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Andrew, for speaking with us.
Okay, thank you.
And now we're going to speak with Brian Connolly, one of the trainee announcers here at 2CM. Hello, Brian.
Hi, John.
How long have you been coming along to these studios?
Well, I've been coming along to 2CM for about 4 months now.
And have you got any special interest in becoming a radio announcer or something?
Yeah, radio announcer's the career I've got in mind at the moment. Yeah.
What type of work do you do normally?
I'm a panel operator at 2KY in Sydney. You know, that involves putting on tapes and paneling generally for the announcer.
I see. And so working at the station, you already got one foot in the door, I suppose.
Yeah.
And by coming along here to 2CM, how have you found it to be an advantage to you?
Yes, I think it has been a bit of an advantage because I'm getting a chance to practice the announcing side of the industry or the career.
And then by that, you'll eventually get experience, and then you can apply for a job as an experienced announcer.
Yeah.
Very good. Right, well, we wish you every success.
Right, thank you very much, John.
This time we'd like to speak with Pete Diskin. Peter, how long have you been working with 2CM?
About 5 years, John.
What type of programs have you been doing?
Mainly the top 20 and Solid Gold, a few of the modern albums.
I remember when I first met you, it was in Melbourne when this organisation, which is called the Hi-Fi Service, was down there then.
That's right, yes, at 3SK. Yeah.
But you started here in Sydney and
That's
went
right.
with it down there to Melbourne.
That's right, yes.
And now it's back here in Sydney. You're back
Yes.
with them again.
I've been everywhere.
Well, it's been terrific to come up here and meet you again.
Thank you, John.
And what aspirations do you have towards radio?
Well, perhaps wouldn't mind actually getting into radio on a full-time basis, just take things as they come, you know.
But at the moment, you're taking it mainly as a hobby and an interest and keeping
yeah,
up the
yeah.
practice.
That's right, yes.
Well, I certainly do hope you get some golden opportunities to get in very soon.
Good, thanks very much, John.
Now I'd like to introduce Steve Murray, who is one of the trainee announcers here at 2CM. Hello, Stephen.
How are you, John?
Oh, fine, thank you. Well, how long have you been associated with the station here?
Just on a year and 3 months.
And what is your main object in coming along?
To train to be a broadcasting radio announcer.
And as well to handle the studio equipment?
Yes, that's right. Operational side.
Is that particularly difficult?
Oh, well, once you get the hang of it, I suppose it's fairly easy, but you've got to learn different panels. It's not just one same panel every week. You can be shifted from place to place to place.
Yes.
Well, it depends on what position you get in a radio station. If you get radio production, you're going to handle every bit of equipment from A to Z. But if you're just going to be a panel operator, you're going to be using the same old equipment every day in and every day out.
Anyhow, you build up experience and you get to know the various procedures.
Yes, you do.
And what you use various pieces of equipment for and how to handle it.
Yeah, that's right.
And then on top of that, as the radio announcer, you have to know how you're going to use your voice in relationship to the various microphones and other pieces of equipment.
Yeah, this is right. Some microphones have got higher pick-up frequencies than others.
Have you had any vocal training with any of the other speech training schools?
Yeah, yes, I have, John. But I've got advice from announcers in Sydney here, and they prefer to have your own natural voice. You go to these announcing schools. I don't want to mention any names,
Oh, no,
but there's
no.
3 or 4 around Sydney here that are all they are is giving you a good voice. Now people disagree. You may as well use yourself. If you're not yourself, you're not going to be yourself on the air. And let's face it, if you're not yourself on air, you're not going to enjoy what you're doing.
Well, that's a fair enough comment too. And have you any particular part of radio you want to work in? Is it DJ work or news?
It's
Or?
preferably DJ, but if I can't get in there, I'll try and get in the production department.
Yes. And so your next aim is to actually get a job in a radio station, is it?
That's right, Justin, there.
And so whilst doing that, you're preparing in this direction, and all being well, it should be not long now before you'll be able to be broadcasting on the air.
That's right.
Not only do we have our own local programs, John, but we also have programs interstate. The Hi-Fi service has been going for 19 years, and well, we have programs from our friend Noel Walker in Queensland, and also programs from yourself and John Musgrove, who comes from Victoria. Now, here's John to say a few words to you.
Hello, John. How are you?
Hey, John. Thank you, Kevin.
How long have you been associated with this station?
10 years, John.
I see. And what do you do programs for the station?
Yes, I started doing programs back in 1965 when this Hi-Fi service was in Melbourne. And then when it came to New South Wales, I sent up pre-recorded programs.
And what kind of programs do you do, John?
Request programs, John.
Request programs, like the party time shows on the radio.
That's right. But as we don't have many listeners, I have to use my imagination and send out requests to people, here, there, and everywhere. This is for the purpose of making the program entertaining. So I have to, send requests all over Australia. So you'll say from Cairns to Kalgoorlie or anywhere for that matter.
Well, that sounds a very good idea.
And it certainly takes a bit of imagination, John, in preparing a program like this.
In what way have you had any real benefits from a program like this?
Well, one of the main benefits, John, is it's helped me a lot in public speaking, say going to meetings and things like that.
And personal confidence?
Yes, it really has. Over the last 10 years, I've gained more and more confidence. And I do believe that the Hi-Fi service has helped me a lot. And knowing that Kevin, Malcolm and the other guys on the Hi-Fi service are listening to me, John, has helped me, overcome my nervousness quite a lot. In fact, I'll give you an example. The first time I'd done a program back in 1965, it was only going to be an hour program, but Kevin started playing music and it was about 3/4 an hour before I was game enough to say my first word.
Oh, yes.
And now I like to do programs for, 3 or 4 hours, and I don't think twice about saying my first word either.
And now we have another visitor to Sydney to introduce you to, and this time another member of the Hi-Fi service, Noel Walker from Brisbane. Hello, Noel.
Hello, John. How are you today?
Well, it's nice to meet you here in Sydney.
Yes, surprise, surprise. We pop up in all sorts of places, don't we?
Well, it's terrific to see you again after all this time.
And really beautiful to be in Sydney too.
My word, we've all come here for this very special celebration, and you're down here with some other friends too.
That's correct.
As far as 2CM is concerned, I want to know how long you've been associated with this organisation.
Well, off and on. I think I must now have been associated with 2CM for around about 8, 9 years perhaps.
Yes, that's true. And it's been a real good association when we've been able to send recordings to one another, made up programs and various different interviews and ideas which we've expressed on tape, both in the form of correspondence mail and produced programs.
That's right, John. It has. It's been a really wonderful service. Actually, it is a service that has gone beyond all of our expectations. I think sometimes we tend to put a thing into operation, work for a small while, then maybe fizzle out. But no, not so with this. It's something that has kept quite a number of people together with a great bond of friendship, and I think that's the greatest thing of all, the fact that it has been a bond of friendship, in a very personalised form too.
Well, we'd like to thank you, Noel, for your contributions over the years, and we hope that we'll be associated with you for years to come.
Well, I count it a delight to have been able to do things in the past and look forward in the future, hopefully, to being able to contribute a little more than I have.
Well, I'm afraid that's about all the time we have. Unfortunately, we didn't get around to introducing you to all those members of the Hi-Fi service in attendance at these celebrations this Easter, but we do hope that you, the listener, got some idea as to the work going on here by the management and Closed Circuit Radio Training Centre 2CM.
Hello there, driver. What's the hurry, driver?
I'm off to the Big Four summer selling spree.
Big Four summer selling spree?
Haven't you heard, officer? The Big Four, Melbourne's most live-wire electrical retailers. They're selling Kelvinator refrigerators like crazy. I'm getting a Kelvinator for me missus.
Well, my missus likes a square look.
Square or round look, Kelvinator makes them both.
Thinking? Hey, wait till I park me bike. I'll come with you.
Everyone's off to the Big Four summer selling spree. New Kelvinator refrigerators, square or round look from only 149 guineas. Easy terms, huge trade-ins. Ring the Big Four now. XU6058. XU6058.
You're listening to Australian Radio Review, coming to you on 2CM, your Hi-Fi service. And now for our next feature, I'm going to play a little interview and a little program which we recorded with a friend of mine. This was done back there in the 1970s, and I'm sure it would have been played on 2CM. I'd be very surprised if I gave up that opportunity. So it does fit the criteria of this program, and also it's all about recordings. And of course, recordings are a big part of radio programming, aren't they? In this case, we're going to be dealing with vintage records. And I'm reminded of this because Not long ago in this program, we did a feature on Jack O'Hagan, and we're going to hear some Jack O'Hagan recordings in this little feature. Anyway, we'll hear this feature now with my friend. His name is Bill Ledden, and Bill, unfortunately, was killed in an unfortunate swimming accident many years ago now, since, of course, we recorded the interview. And he was telling us about the fact that he was a vintage record collector, and I went to his place, had a chat to him, and he suggested that I might be able to help him with the recording of some LP records he wanted to make. Anyway, let's listen to Bill Ledden now on your hi-fi service.
Today I'm at Bill Ledden's home, who...
Fine, thanks. Delighted to be given this opportunity to speak with you.
Oh, fine. How long have you been collecting records, Bill?
I came into my first stack of records when I was 8. I turned 28 last month.
Ah, and how many records have you now in your library?
I've amassed 4,000.
4,000? Gee, that's terrific. And have you got any really special ones that you could mention?
Indeed, I have. I think they're all special, though. It's very, very difficult.
You, of course, mainly look for special ones.
Special in that my particular interest lies within the Australian recording field.
Oh, I see. So maybe some of our listeners might have some old records away there in the cupboard that you could be interested in?
They might indeed. They might indeed.
Oh, well, you might like to give us your address later and we can let them know.
Certainly.
Anyway, what future plans do you have with your library?
Well, we're very excited. Discovery Records and I have successfully committed negotiations to produce a record using some of the, I think, priceless old discs in this collection.
Oh, and you're going to bring out a record or two, are you?
That's right, a 16-track LP using the 5 to 1931.
Excellent.
The quality of the music is superb. The quality of the recordings, of course, is a little on the nose, but it should be of great interest to anybody who can recall the early days of Australian dance bands.
Now, when will this recording be out?
Hopefully around Christmas.
About Christmas 1973.
73.
That's right.
I have that understanding. It could well be 1999, but...
I hope not. For your sake. Well, look, Bill, would you like to give us a bit of a preview of the type of material that you have on your LP?
I'd be only too delighted to, John. Thank you. Remember the first wireless the family ever owned? An Excellatone 4-valve Junior Deluxe. And the spellbound hours you spent gazing into the horn while the set gamely wrestled with the forces pitted against it and with real effort pulled in the signals emanating from the 2 operational A-grade stations at the time, 3LO and 3AR. Occasionally, when conditions permitted, a program broadcast by one of the experimental stations filtered through. 3UZ began in that fashion, and so too did 3PB. It was via this call sign that you may first have heard the strains of Ray Tellier and his San Francisco Orchestra, who was enjoying considerable success at the Parade Dance in St Kilda during his 1925 tour. The broadcasting station of Pemberton Billings, whose recording studios and factory pioneered that industry in Australia, aired dance programs between the hours of 8 and 10 o'clock every evening, using exclusively the recordings manufactured by his World Record Company. One of the recordings broadcast could well have been Ray Tellier's vigorous interpretation of I Miss My Swiss Miss Mrs. Me. The song, incidentally, had been introduced into the musical Leave It to Jane in 1925 by its leading comedian, Ethel Tear. This versatile talent found expression on many a stage and in many roles, including a major part in the FD Sound film The Sentimental Bloke in 1932. We hear him assisted by a delightful Peggy Ross in a scene of his own creation entitled Silly But Soothing and I've Got to Be Home by 9.
But I say, miss, will you give me a kiss?
No, certainly not.
Oh, go on, will you, miss? Give me a kiss. It won't hurt you, and it'll do me a lot of good.
No, you're too presumptuous.
Too what?
Too presumptuous.
Ooh, miss, ooh, you just said. Ooh. Oh, well, listen, if you won't give me a kiss home...
But I'm not experienced.
No, but you're not home yet.
No.
Oh, well, I'll see you again. I can't waste my time. You know, I've got to be home by...
Hagen, a songwriter with a happy knack of producing a succession of melodies, the success of which no other Australian composer could hope to emulate. He was also blessed with a pleasingly homely vocal quality. Casts from 3LO made him one of the most prolific recording artists of the 20s. His discs were amongst the first produced in Australia to embrace the revolutionary process of electrical recording, and were big sellers for Columbia, who had recently established a studio and plant in New South Wales during 1926. In 1928, the Vocalion Record Company began operations from their Burke Street studios in Melbourne, and O'Hagan was coaxed into accepting a recording contract with them. It was a happy decision. He immediately became the most widely sought entertainer on their rostrum. When, in 1931, Vocalion ceased its recording activities, so too did the recording career of Jack O'Hagan come to an untimely end. His other varied talents were in no way affected, of course, and the recent honour bestowed on him, an MBE, illustrates how well he has served Australian popular music over the years. I'm Just a Vagabond Lover is a song synonymous with the name of Rudy Valley, and while the Jack O'Hagan offering may not quite rank in contemporary popularity, I am sure the number has rarely been given a more sensitive treatment.
For some girls are quickly forgotten and gone with the dawn of the day. But some you remember like last growing embers, haunting your memory and dreams. For I'm just a vagabond lover in search of a sweetheart, it seems. And I know that someday I'll discover the door of my vagabond
The orchestra providing the accompaniment was headed by one of the most professional local leaders in the business, Art Chapman, whose superb band was chosen to play in Melbourne's plush and expensive cabaret concern, The Rex, in Swanston Street. The two recordings featured on our LP testify to the high musical standard he achieved. Although the wireless surrounds a magical fascination and a very real holding power, not everybody stayed at home. Of an evening, dancers by their thousands flocked to the halls and palais to be serenaded by impeccably dressed and rigorously rehearsed musicians. Many of the bands of the late 20s were led by Americans or others of foreign extraction. This practice had begun with the arrival of an orchestra under the direction of Frank Ellis, whose Californians were wildly greeted wherever they played. He was followed by Harry Yerkes, Tom Swift, Ray Tellier, Burt Belton, and Leon Van Straten, all of them capturing the attention of the dancing world, but few winning the interests of the recording companies. Two visiting bands which did manage to find themselves sitting decorously around a microphone were very well accepted by the record-buying public. The sprawling arrangement of Harvey Ball and his Virginians contrast to the tightened work of Joe Aronson's orchestra, but they both mirror what was being played at Melbourne's leading ballrooms. Harvey Ball was recruited by entrepreneur J.C. Bendroit in the hope of following the successful pattern of the aforementioned combinations. He did so brilliantly. Joe Watson filled a season at the Green Mill, during which period he recorded with its composer, Jack O'Hagan, a song Jack wrote for his wife entitled Josie and Me, one of the biggest numbers of 1929.
In a quaint little love nest, lots of pictures to see. We're so happy together, just Josie and me. There's a sweet little girl, lots of swag as can be. Just a real bell and a pool for Josie and me. When Mr. Groom comes on, why we laugh him off with a song. Somehow we write every song so easily. So we're just two together, maybe soon we'll be free. Life is all sunny weather, with Josie and me.
Made by Van Canyon, featured vocalists accompanied by an instrumental backing, the inevitable violin, cello, and piano. A welcome exception is the pleasantly dated Colin Crane release, It's a Grand Old World. The recording not demonstrates the remarkable voice of the artist, but also provides an almost showcase example of the style of playing employed by Harry Jacobs and his Ballet Pictures Orchestra from St Kilda. Harry Jacobs arrived from Great Britain in 1914 to play a season on the Tivoli circuit. He liked what he saw, and on the completion of his commitments in England, returned, this time to stay. Subsequently, he became director of the Ballet Pictures, where he remained for an unbroken 20-odd years, which surely must rank as a record of some kind. Colin Crane was perhaps even more of an institution. A fine baritone, a commanding presence on stage, and a homespun sincerity so beautifully demonstrated over the years through his incredibly long-running radio shows, won him a place in the hearts of all who heard him.
Just an old bush codger, and I've always been a lodger, neath the blue skies up above.
And I often stop and ponder as along the road I wander if there's anything in life that I still love. Now when your nose bag's hanging slack and old Matilda on your back is getting heavier with each long mile, well, she doesn't seem so weighty if you met with good day, matey, and a handout from a copyist with a smile. But those days for me are over, though at heart I'm still between then and now. But a grand old world, it's a fine old world, though at times we find it mighty hard to know. It's a great big world, it's a bonzo old world, and we'll know it when we have to go below. Now don't get sore at all your trouble, it's just a bubble, and it will be as the years roll by. So when with this life we have to suffer, for who wants to live forever, so what's 100 years to you and I?
As an example of great musicianship and good fun, the surprising Jan Rubini rendition of You're the Cream in My Coffee must surely stand apart. At the time, 1929, Rubini led and conducted the Melbourne Capitol Theatre's Symphonic Stage Orchestra. He was a competent violinist and witnessed his performances often at the expense of the screen attraction, despite the fact that pictures now taught.
She's a cream in my coffee, doggone boy, and she's a nail in my shoe. She will always be my necessity. I mean, telling me, boy, she's a sneeze in my blue. She's a slash in my collar. I look out, boy, she's a black sheep in my block. She will always be my commodity. That's all right, boy, but she's a hole in my sock. Most men tell love tales, and it's praise cocktail. I mean, tell me, boy, she don't like love tales. What that girl likes is cocktail. She's the sail of my love. But look out, boy, you're gonna have a wreck. She will always be my necessity. But boy, she's a plain right in the neck.
One of the artists included on this offering actually starred in a couple of our own early efforts at Sound Films. St Kilda featured the inimitable Pat Hanna, Diggers, in 1931. His Diggers Company had made its name during the Great War, entertaining Allied soldiers in France, and at the cessation of hostilities, Hanna and his troupe embarked on a tour to consolidate their initial success. Their reception enabled the company to remain intact throughout the 20s, and Pat Hanna himself was a great hit with gramophone enthusiasts with his digger-orientated sketches and verse. Mademoiselle from Arm and Tears is a now amusing slice of yesteryear, though perhaps the piece held a shade more significance 3 generations ago.
Arm and Tears, sang the diggers between their beers, told us them in a there were men from Britain and USA from Cape and Canada and Bombay, from New Zealand far across, and the young Australian tall and brown. Watch Mademoiselle as she trips around, and her heart was in a rapture as well when he told her she was his income girl. And they laughed and loved in that old French town.
The Sundowners Quartet are heard singing Jack O'Hagan's hit of 1931, Carry On. This was the first recording made of a song which became an international success, recorded by bands of the caliber of Ambrose, Jack Hilton, and the Grenadier Guards.
Carry on, carry on, carry on, carry on with a few so boom the air. Carry on, carry on, carry on, carry on, and advance Australia fair. Oh, well, your blues are free. Oh, troubles are only troubles to fade away. Where was the smile that followed another time? Beat always be. Every is a melody that's sure to cure the blues. Treat each little worry with a smile. They will leave you in a little while. To every sigh, say goodbye, then contented you will be. Smile away, smile and drive down care away. 3DB Melbourne, Herald Broadcasting Service. My dear, delightful Dreadnought friend. He's a gramophone, my boy, not a microphone. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't mind it, Sally? Oh, well, I'm going to sing this little song. I must go right if I don't go wrong. Whilst I sing this song to you, all you people...
Shortly after 3DB began operations in February 1927 with the avowed intention of broadcasting a varied program of music and vocal items with a spice of advertising matter that will be presented in a novel form. Staff who were destined to become amongst the most listened to radio personalities of the 30s, Charlie Vaught and Ren Miller. Their informality was immediately accepted by both management and listener alike. This 1930 recording of their and our signature tune captures some of the good humour emanating from the Herald Broadcast Service when Charlie and Ren controlled the airwaves. And we were very young.
Smile away, smile away.
Well, many thanks, Bill, for that very interesting preview of your new record coming up, and a very apt theme there we've got in the background too, remember?
Yes, the lovely old Irving Berlin opus from around 1926. And with regard to your acknowledgement, I was only too happy and delighted to assist.
Now, what is the name of the record going to be?
Its name will be Smile Away.
Smile Away. Oh, that's a good name too. Very good. And, well, is there anything else you would like to tell us about your wonderful collection of records you got here? You've got, stacks and stacks of them, haven't you? Do you collect cylinder records by any chance?
No.
Haven't gone onto that one, because that's another field altogether, and you've got your hands full with this, haven't we?
That's right.
What else in the way of records are you intending to have produced, or are you contributing towards?
Very good question. We have an idea in embryo. We hope to produce a long-playing record in the not-too-distant future using some of the material that was used in actual radio broadcasts from the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Gee, that'd be interesting.
It would indeed. Mr. Van Straten, the producer, has his hands full in negotiating with various record collectors and historic societies. I hope to be able to contribute some small segment of this LP. In theory, at least, it's a riot.
I bet. Well, that'll be really beautiful. I hope that one comes off.
Thank you very
It'd
much.
be really a collector's item to get a comprehensive collection of recordings of this nature on the one LP.
That's right. That's right.
Marvelous. All right, Bill. Well, thank you very much for having us around here tonight at your home and playing us the recordings and giving us the wonderful dialogue you did there between each selection, which are going to be the cover notes to your new LP, Smile Away, is it?
That's right.
And you wrote the cover notes yourself. Well, that's really well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Without sounding like a gramophone record myself, it is entirely my pleasure.
Yes, you have been listening to Mr. Bill Ledden, vintage record collector, and we hope you've enjoyed today's program. Thanks, Bill.
Oh, I've been married just 3 months. In 3 months have not round once. We've a bouncing baby lad living next door with his mum and dad. Mile away, how easy we are to stray. That's all we're going to sing today. Come on, Ren, we'll go away. Good night.
Well, I hope you found that interesting, listening there to Bill Ledden talking about those records, he said. And these were very old 78s, which he had been collecting for many years. And he was contemplating making up some compilation LPs, not CDs, but LPs, because it was before CDs came out. And he did do that. In fact, he engaged me to record some of the master tapes. And he came out to my little studio and we recorded him playing his 78s on his special 78 record player on, and then that was sent into the recording company and pressed and put in covers, and Bill used to sell those. And as you heard there, Bill put together an impromptu radio program incorporating some of those recordings to give us an idea or a preview of what he was planning on doing. Unfortunately, Bill isn't with us now, and we won't be hearing any more from his collection. But nonetheless, it was my pleasure to be able to revive that program once again on the Hi-Fi service.
It's holidays, time to play, have some fun in the sun, run!
And be sure you call in at those friendly BP service stations along the way. Call in for the right BP Supermix petrol for your car. You get 5 petrols, 5 prices at a BP Supermix pump. And you notice the savings. For your holidays, it's
all the best from BP.
You're listening to Australian Radio Review coming your way on 2CM, your Hi-Fi service. And now to conclude our program, we'll have a little bit of poetry read by Australian actor Leonard Teale, Clancy of the Overflow.
I had written him a letter, which I had, for want of better knowledge, sent to where I met him down the Lachlan years ago. He was shearing when I knew him, so I sent the letter to him just on spec, addressed as follows: Clancy of the Overflow. And an answer came directed in a writing unexpected, but I think the same was written with a thumbnail dipped in tar. 'Twas his shearing mate who wrote it, and verbatim I will quote it. Clancy's gone to Queensland droving, and we don't know where he are. In my wild, erratic fancy, visions come to me of Clancy gone a-droving down the Cooper, where the western drovers go. As the stock are slowly stringing, Clancy rides behind them singing, for the drover's life has pleasures that the townsfolk never know. And the bush has friends to meet him, and their kindly voices greet him in the murmur of the breezes and the river on its bars. And he sees the vision splendid of the sunlit plains extended. And at night, the wondrous glory of the everlasting stars. I am sitting in my dingy little office, where a stingy ray of sunlight struggles feebly down between the houses tall, and the fetid air and gritty of the dusty, dirty city through the open window floating spreads its foulness over all. And in place of lowing cattle, I can hear the fiendish rattle of the tramways and the buses making hurry down the street, and the language uninviting of the gutter children fighting comes fitfully and faintly through the ceaseless tramp of feet. And the hurrying people daunt me, and their pallid faces haunt me as they shoulder one another in their rush and nervous haste, with their eager eyes and greedy, and their stunted forms and weedy. For townsfolk have no time to grow. And I somehow rather fancy that I'd like to change with Clancy. Like to take a turn at droving where the seasons come and go, while he faced the round eternal of the cash book and the journal. But I doubt he'd suit the office.
This is Ed Lorcan just popping in to remind you that to put you to sleep or to wake you up, to be your companion wherever you may go, may your hi-fi services be a good friend to know.
All right, that's all the time we have. So, you have been listening to Australian Radio Review on 2CM, your hi-fi service.
Whether you're at work or in your car, at home, the beach, wherever you are, radio entertains you near and far. Wherever you go, there is radio.
Australian Radio Review with John Matron a little later on here on Old Time Radio 2CM in Newcastle and the Hi-Fi Home Service. It's coming up to the top of the hour, and we now go back to Bibles through Variety.
Patience and listen. Pay attention, you peoples. Let the earth hear, and all that is in it, the world, and all that comes out of it, on all their armies. He will totally destroy them. He will give them only soaked with their blood. All the stars in the sky will be dissolved, and the heavens rolled up like a scroll. All the starry host will fall like withered leaves from the vine, like shriveled figs from the fig tree.
My sword has drunk its fill in the heavens. See, it descends in judgment on Edom, the people I have totally destroyed.
The sword of the Lord is bathed in blood. It is covered with fat, the blood of lambs and goats, and the wild oxen will fall with them, the bull calves and the great bulls. Their land will be drenched with blood, and the dust will be soaked with fat. For the Lord has a day of vengeance, a year of retribution to uphold Zion's cause. Edom's streams will be turned into pitch, dust into burning sulfur. Her land lies forever. From generation to generation, it will lie desolate. No one will ever pass through it again. The desert owl and screech owl will possess it. The great owl and the raven will nest there. God will stretch out over Edom the measuring line of chaos and the plumb line of desolation. Her nobles will have nothing there to be called a kingdom. All her princes will vanish away. Thorns will overrun her citadels. Nettles and brambles become a haunt for jackals, a home for owls. Desert creatures will meet with hyenas, and wild goats will bleat to each other. There the night creatures will also lie down and find for themselves places of rest. The owl will nest there and lay eggs. She will hatch them and care for her young under the shadow of her wings. There also the falcons will gather, each with its mate. Look in the scroll of the Lord and read. None of these will be missing. Not one will lack her mate. For it is his mouth that has given the order, and his spirit will gather them together. He allots their portions. His hand distributes them by measure. They will possess it forever and dwell there from generation to generation.
Chapter 19. It was told Joab, Behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. So the victory that day was turned into mourning for all the people, for the people heard that day, the king is grieving for his son. And the people stole into the city that day as people steal who are ashamed when they flee in battle. The king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son. Then Joab came into the house to the king and said, You have today covered with shame the faces of all your servants who have this day saved your life, and the lives of your sons and your daughters, and the lives of your wives and your concubines, because you love those who hate you and hate those who love you. For you have made it clear today that commanders and servants are nothing to you. For today I know that if Absalom were alive and all of us were dead today, then you would be pleased. Now therefore arise, go out and speak kindly to your servants. For I swear by the Lord, if you do not go, not a man will stay with you this night. And this will be worse for you than all the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now. Then the king arose and took his seat in the gate, and the people were all told, Behold, the king is sitting in the gate. And all the people came before the king. Now Israel had fled, every man to his own home. And all the people were arguing throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, The king delivered us from the hand of our enemies, and saved us from the hand of the Philistines, and now he has fled out of the land from Absalom. But Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now therefore, why do you say nothing about bringing the king back? And King David sent this message to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Say to the elders of Judah, Why should you be the last to bring the king back to his house, when the word of all Israel has come to the king? You are my brothers, you are my bone and my flesh. Why then should you be the last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, Are you not my bone and my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if you are not commander of my army from now on in place of Joab. And he swayed the heart of all the men of Judah as one man, so that they sent word to the king, Return, both you and all your servants. So the king came back to the Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal to meet the king, and to bring the king over the Jordan. And Shimei the son of Gera, the Benjaminite from Bahurim, hurried to come down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And with him were 1,000 men from Benjamin. And Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, with his 15 sons and his 20 servants, rushed down to the Jordan before the king, and they crossed the ford to bring over the king's household and to do his pleasure. And Shimei the son of Gera fell down before the king as he was about to cross the Jordan, and said to the king, Let not my lord hold me guilty, or remember how your servant did wrong on the day my lord the king left Jerusalem. Do not let the king take it to heart, for your servant knows that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I have come this day, the first of all the house of Joseph, to come down to meet my lord the king. Abishai the son of Zeruiah answered, Shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? But David said, What have I? Shall anyone be put to death in Israel this day? For do I not know that I am this day king over Israel? And the king said to Shimei, You shall not die. And the king gave him his oath. And Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king. He had neither taken care of his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed, until the day he came with me, Mephibosheth. He answered, My lord, O king, my servant deceived me, for your servant said to him, I will saddle the donkey for myself, that I may ride on it. The king is like the angel of God. Do therefore what seems good to you. For all my father's house were but men doomed to death before my lord the king, but you set your servant among those who eat at your table. What further right have I, then, to cry to the king? And the king said to him, Why speak any more of your affairs? I have decided. You and Ziba shall divide the land. And Mephibosheth said to the king, Oh, let him take it all, since my lord the king has come safely home. Now Barzillai the Gilead had come down from Rogelim, and he went on with the king to the Jordan to escort him over the Jordan. Barzillai was a very aged man, 80 years old. He had provided the king with food while he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was a very wealthy man. And the king said to Barzillai, "Come over with me, and I will provide for you with me in Jerusalem." But Barzillai said to the king, "How many years have I still to live, that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am this day 80 years old. Can I discern what is pleasant and what is not? Can your servant taste what he eats or what he drinks? Can I still listen to the voice of singing men and singing women? Why then should your servant be an added burden to my lord the king? Your servant will go a little way over the Jordan with the king. Why should the king repay me with such a reward? Please let your servant return, that I may die in my own city near the grave of my father and my mother. But here is your servant Kimham. Let him go over with my lord the king, and do for him whatever seems good to you." And the king answered, "Kimham shall go over with me, and I will do for him whatever seems good to you, and all that you desire of me I will do for you." Then all the people went over the Jordan, and the king went over. And the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his own home. The king went on to Gilgal, and Kimham went on with him. All the people of Judah, and also half the people of Israel, brought the king on his way. Then all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, "Why have our brothers, the men of Judah, stolen you away and brought the king and his household over the Jordan, and all David's men with him?" All the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, "Because the king is our close relative. Why then are you angry over this matter? Have we eaten at all at the king's expense, or has he given us any gift?" And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah, "We have 10 shares in the king, and in David also we have more than you. Why then did you despise us? Were we not the first to speak of bringing back our king?" But the words of the men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel.
Now Ahab told Jezebel everything.
May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them.
Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die.
"I've had enough, Lord,"
he said.
"Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors."
Then he lay down under the tree and fell asleep. All at once an angel touched him and said,
"Get up and eat."
He looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank and then lay down again. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said,
"Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you."
So he got up and ate and drank. Strengthened by that food, he traveled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. There he went into a cave and spent the night. And the word of the Lord came to him.
"What are you doing here, Elijah?"
He replied,
"I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left. Now they're trying to kill me too."
The Lord said,
"Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by."
Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, He pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him,
"What are you doing here, Elijah?"
He replied,
I've been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left. Now they're trying to
Go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu son of Nimshi king over Israel. And anoint Elisha the son of Shaphat from Abel Meholah to succeed you as prophet. Jehu will put to death any who escape the sword of Hazael, and Elisha will put to death any who escape the sword of Jehu. Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal, and whose have not kissed him.
He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. Elijah went up to him and threw his cloak around him. Elisha then left his oxen and ran after Elijah.
Let father and mother goodbye,
he said.
Then I will come with you.
go back.
Elijah replied.
What have I done to you?
So Elisha left him and went back. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He burned the plowing equipment to cook the meat and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he set out to follow Elijah and became his servant.
Chapter 32. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that behold, the place was a place for cattle, the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses and to Eleazar the priest and unto the princes of the congregation, saying, Ataroth and Dibon and Jazer and Nimrah and Heshbon and Elealeh and Shebam and Nebo and Beon. Even the, said they, if we have found grace in thy sight, let this land be given unto thy servants for a possession, and bring us not over Jordan. And Moses said unto the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, Shall your brethren go to war, and shall ye sit here? And wherefore discourage ye the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord hath given them? Thus did your fathers, when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For when they went up unto the valley of Eshcol, and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, that they should not go into the land which the Lord had given them. And the Lord's anger was kindled at the same time. And he sware, saying, Surely none of the men that came up out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun. For they have wholly followed the Lord. The Lord was consumed. And behold, ye are risen up in your father's stead, an increase of sinful men, to augment yet the fierce anger of the Lord toward Israel. For if ye turn away from after him, he will yet again leave them in the wilderness, and ye shall destroy all his people. And they came near unto him and said, We will build sheepfolds here for our cattle, and cities for our little ones. But we ourselves will go ready armed before the children of Israel, until we have brought them unto their place. And our little ones shall dwell in the fenced cities because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return unto our houses until the children of Israel have inherited every man his inheritance. For we will not inherit with them on yonder side Jordan or forward, because our inheritance is fallen to us on this side Jordan east. If ye will go armed before the Lord to war, and will go all of you armed over Jordan before the Lord, until he hath driven out his enemies from before him, and the land be subdued before the Lord, then afterward ye shall return, and be guiltless before the Lord and before Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if ye will not do so, behold, ye have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. Build you cities for your little ones, and folds for your sheep, and do that which hath proceeded out of your mouth. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spake unto Moses, saying, Thy servants will do as my Lord commanded. Our little ones, our wives, our flocks, and all our cattle shall be there in the cities of Gilead. But thy servants will pass over, every man armed for war before the Lord to battle, as my Lord said. So concerning them, Moses commanded Eleazar the priest, and Joshua the son of Nun, and the chief fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel. And Moses said unto them, If the children of Gad and the children of Reuben will pass with you Jordan, every man armed to battle before the Lord, and the land shall be subdued before of Gilead for a possession. But if they will not pass over with you armed, they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, As the Lord hath said unto thy servants, so will we do. We will pass over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, that the possession of our inheritance this side Jordan may be ours. And Moses gave unto them, even to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, and unto half the tribe of Manasseh the son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon king of the Amorites, round about. And the children of Gad built Dibon and Beth-nimrah and Beth-haran, fenced cities, and folds for sheep. And the children of Reuben built Heshbon and Elealeh and Kirjathaim, and Nebo and Baal-meon, their names being changed, and Shibmah, and gave other names unto the cities which they builded. And the children of Machir the son of Manasseh went to Gilead, and took it, and dispossessed the Amorite which was in it. And Moses gave Gilead unto Machir the son of Manasseh, and he dwelt. Nobah went and took Kenath, and the villages thereof, and called it Nobah, after his own name.
Psalm 100, Song of Ascents. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks well with you. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. Behold, thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord. The Lord bless you from Zion. May you see the prosperity of Jerusalem all the days of your life. May you see your children's children. Peace be upon you. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, Since there will not be enough for us and for you, go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves. And while they were going to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was shut. Afterward the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, I do not know you, journey, who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also who had the 2 talents came forward, saying, Master, you good and faithful servant, you have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. He also who had received the 1 talent came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sowed, and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him, and give it to him who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered and he will place the sheep on his right, but the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on his right, Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me. Then he will say to those on his left, Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me, naked, and you did not clothe me, sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they also will answer, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you? Then he will answer them, saying, Truly I say to you, as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life.
Lord Jesus, ruler of all nations, O Lord God and man the Son, thee will I cherish, thee will I honor, thou my soul's glory, joy, and crown. Fair is the sunshine, fairer still the moonlight, and starry host. Jesus shines brighter, Jesus shines purer than all the angels heaven can boast. Beautiful Savior, Lord of all nations, Son of God and Son of man. Glory and honor forevermore be thine.
Chapter 11. You shall therefore love the Lord your God, and keep his charge, his statutes, his rules, and seen it. Consider the discipline of the Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his outstretched arm, his signs and his deeds that he did in Egypt to Pharaoh the king of Egypt, and to all his land, and what he did to the army of Egypt, to their horses and to their chariots, how he made the water of the Red Sea flow over them as they pursued after you, and how the Lord has destroyed them to this day, and what he did to you in the wilderness until you came to this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, son of Reuben, how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, with their households, their tents, and every living thing that followed them in the midst of all Israel. For your eyes have seen all the great work of the Lord that he did. You shall therefore keep the whole commandment that I command you today, that you may be strong, and go in and take possession of the land that you are going over to possess, and that you may live long in the land that the Lord swore to your fathers to give to them and to their offspring, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land that you are entering to take possession of it is not like the land of Egypt from which you have come, where you sowed your seed and irrigated it like a garden of vegetables. But the land that you are going over to possess is a land of hills and valleys, which drinks water by the rain from heaven, a land that the Lord your God cares for. The eyes of the Lord your God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And if you will indeed obey my commandments that I command you today, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, he will give the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the later rain, that you may gather in your grain and your wine and your oil. And he will give grass in your fields for your livestock, and you shall eat and be full. Take care lest your heart be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. Then the anger of the Lord will be kindled against you, and he will shut up the heavens, so that there will be no rain, and the land will yield no fruit, and you will perish quickly off the good land that the Lord is giving you. You shall therefore lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall teach them to your children, talking of them when you are sitting in your house, and when you are walking by the way, and when you lie down and when you rise. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates, that your days and the days of your children may be multiplied in the land that the Lord swore to your fathers to give them, as long as the heavens are above the earth. For if you will be careful to do all this commandment that I command you to do, loving the Lord your God, walking in all his ways, and holding fast to him, then the Lord will drive out all these nations before you, and you will dispossess nations greater and mightier than yourselves. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads shall be yours. Your territory shall be from the wilderness to the Lebanon, and from the river Euphrates, to the western sea. No one shall be able to stand against you. The Lord your God will lay the fear of you and the dread of you on all the land that you shall tread, as he promised you. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today, and the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside from the way that I am commanding you today, to go after other gods that you have not known. And when the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are entering to take possession of it, you shall set the blessing on Mount Gerizim, and the curse on Mount Ebal. Are they not beyond the Jordan, west of the road, toward the going down of the sun, in the land of the Canaanites who live in the Arabah, opposite Gilgal, beside the oak of Moreh? For you are to cross over the Jordan to go in to take possession of the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And when you possess it and live in it, you shall be careful to do all the statutes and the rules that I am setting before you today. Chapter 19. Jehoshaphat the king of Judah returned in safety to his house in Jerusalem, but Jehu the son of Hanani the seer went out to meet him and said to King Jehoshaphat, Should you help the wicked and love those who hate the Lord? Because of this, wrath has gone out against you from the Lord. Nevertheless, some good is found in you, for you destroy the Asherahs out of the land, and have set your heart to seek God. Jehoshaphat lived in Jerusalem, and he went out again among the people, from Beersheba to the hill country of Ephraim, and brought them back to the Lord, the God of their fathers. He appointed judges in the land in all the fortified cities of Judah, city by city, and said to the judges, Consider what you do, for you judge not for man, but for the Lord. He is with you in giving judgment. Now then, let the fear of the Lord be upon you. Be careful what you do, for there is no injustice with the Lord our God, or partiality, or taking bribes. Moreover, in Jerusalem Jehoshaphat appointed certain Levites and priests and heads of families of Israel to give judgment for the Lord and to decide disputed cases. They had their seat at Jerusalem, and he charged them, Thus you shall do in the fear of the Lord, in faithfulness and with your whole heart. Whenever a case comes to you from your brothers who live in their cities concerning bloodshed, law, or commandment, statutes, or rules, then you shall warn them, that they may not incur guilt before the Lord, and wrath may not come upon you and your brothers. Thus you shall do, and you will not incur guilt. And behold, Amariah the chief priest is over you in all matters of the Lord, and Zebediah the son of Ishmael, the governor of the house of Judah, in all the king's matters. And the Levites will serve you as officers. Deal courageously, and may the Lord be with the upright. Chapter 3. For behold, the Lord God of hosts is taking away from Jerusalem and from Judah support and supply, all support of bread and all support of water. The mighty man and the soldier, the judge and the prophet, the diviner and the elder, the captain of 50 and the man of rank, the counselor and the skillful magician and the expert in charms. And I will make boys their princes, and infants shall rule over them, and the people will oppress one another, every one his fellow, and every one his neighbor. The youth will be insolent to the elder, and the despised to the honorable. For a man will take hold of his brother in the house of his father to rule. In that day he will speak out, saying, I will not be a healer. In my house there is neither bread nor cloak. You shall not make me leader of the people. For Jerusalem has stumbled, and Judah has fallen, because their speech and their deeds are against the Lord, defying his glorious presence. For the look on their faces bears witness against them. They proclaim their sin like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to them, for they have brought evil on themselves. Tell the righteous that it shall be well with them, for they shall eat the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked, it shall be ill with him. Their oppressors and women rule over them. O my people, your guides mislead you, and they have swallowed up the course of your paths. The Lord has taken his place to contend. He stands to judge peoples. The Lord will enter into judgment with the elders and princes of his people. It is you who have devoured the vineyard. The spoil of the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people, by grinding the face of the poor, declares the Lord God of hosts. The Lord said, Because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with outstretched necks, glancing wantonly with their eyes, mincing along as they go, tinkling with their feet, therefore the Lord will strike with a scab the heads of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will lay bare their secret parts. In that day the Lord will take away the finery of the anklets, the headbands and the crescents, the pendants, the bracelets and the scarves, the headdresses, the armlets, the sashes, the perfume boxes, and the amulets, the signet rings and nose rings, the festal robes, the mantles, the cloaks and the handbags, the mirrors, the linen garments, the turbans and the veils. Instead of perfume there will be rottenness, and instead of a belt, a rope, and instead of well-set hair, baldness, and instead of a rich robe, a skirt of sackcloth, and branding instead of beauty. Your men shall fall by the sword, and your mighty men in battle. And her gates shall lament and mourn. Empty, she shall sit on the ground.
The Book of Joel. The word of the Lord that came to Joel, son of Pethuel.
Hear this, you elders. Listen, all who live in the land. Has anything like this ever happened in your days or in the days of your ancestors? Tell it to your children, and let your children tell it to their children, and their children to the next generation. What the locust swarm has left, the great locusts have eaten. What the great locusts have left, the young locusts have eaten. What the young locusts have left, other locusts have eaten. Wake up, you drunkards, and weep. Wail, all you drinkers of wine. Wail because of the new wine, for it has been snatched from your lips. A nation has invaded my land, a mighty army without number. It has the teeth of a lion, the fangs of a lioness. It has laid waste my vine and ruined my fig trees. It has stripped off their bark and thrown it away, leaving their back for the betrothal of her youth. Grain offerings and drink offerings are cut off from the house of the Lord. The priests are in mourning, those who minister before the Lord. The fields are ruined, the ground is dried up, the grain is destroyed, the new wine is dried up, the olive oil fails. Despair, you farmers. Wail, you vine growers. Grieve for the wheat and the barley, because the harvest of the field is destroyed. The vine is dried up, and the fig tree is withered. The pomegranate, the palm, and the apple tree, all the trees of the field are dried up. Surely the people's joy is withered away. Put on sackcloth, you priests, and mourn. Wail, you who minister before the altar. Come, spend the night in sackcloth, you who minister before my gods of your God. Declare a holy fast. Call a sacred assembly. Summon the elders and all who live in the land to the house of the Lord your God, and cry out to the Lord. Alas, for that day. For the day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty. Has not the food been cut off before our berries are shriveled beneath the clods? The storehouses are in ruins. The granaries have been broken down, for the grain has dried up. How the cattle mourn. The herds mill about because they have no pasture. Even the flocks of sheep in the wilderness, and flames have burned up all the trees of the field. Even the wild animals pant for you. The streams of water have dried up, and the fire has devoured the pastures in the wilderness.
The word came to Jeremiah from the Lord after Nebuzaradan, commander of the imperial guard, had released him. He had found Jeremiah bound in chains among all the captives from Jerusalem and Judah who were being carried into exile to Babylon. When the commander of the guard found Jeremiah, he said to him,
"The Lord your God decreed this disaster for this place, and now the Lord has brought it about. He has done just as he said he would. All this happened because you people sinned against the Lord and did not obey him. But today, I am freeing you from the chains on your wrists. Come with me to Babylon if you like, and I will look after you. But if you do not want to, then don't come. Look, the whole country lies before you. Go wherever you please."
However, before Jeremiah turned to go, Nebuzaradan added,
"Go back to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon has appointed over the towns of Judah, and live with him among the people, or go anywhere else you please."
Then the commander gave him provisions and a present, and let him go. So Jeremiah went to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, at Mizpah, and stayed with him among the people who were left behind in the land. When all the army officers and their men who were still in the open country heard that the king of Babylon and had put him in charge of the men, women, and children who were the poorest in the land and who had not been carried into exile to Babylon, they came to Gedaliah at Mizpah. Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, Johanan and Jonathan, the sons of Kareah, Zaniah, the son of the Maokathite, and their men. Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, took an oath to reassure them and their men.
"The king of Babylon, and it will go well with you. I myself will stay at Mizpah to represent you before the Babylonians who come to us. But you are to harvest the wine, summer fruit, and olive oil, and put them in your storage jars, and live in the towns you have taken over."
When all the Jews in Moab, Ammon, Edom, And all the other countries heard that the king of Babylon had left a remnant in Judah, and had appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, as governor over them. They all came back to the land of Judah, an abundance of wine, and some fruit. Johanan, son of
Baalis, king of the Ammonites, has sent Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, to take your life?
But Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, did not believe them. Then Johanan, son of Kareah, said privately to Gedaliah in Mizpah,
Let me around you to be scattered, and the remnant of Judah to perish.
But Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, said to Johanan, son of Kareah,
Don't do such a thing. What you are saying about Ishmael.
God had let him go from Ramah when he took him bound in chains along with all the captives of Jerusalem. God pronounced this disaster against this place. The Lord has brought it about and has done as he said. Because you sinned against the Lord and did not obey his voice, this thing has come upon you. Now behold, I release you today from the chains on your hands. If it seems good to you to come with me to Babylon, come, and I will look after you well. But if it seems wrong to you to come with me to Babylon, do not come. See, the whole land is before you. Go wherever you think it good and right to go. If you remain, then return to Gedaliah the son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon appointed. God gave him an allowance of food among the people who were left in the land. When all the captains of the forces in the open country and their men heard that the king of Babylon had appointed Gedaliah the son of Ahikam governor in the land, and had committed to him men, women, and children, those of the poorest of the land who had not been taken into exile to Babylon, they went to Gedaliah at Mizpah. Ishmael the son of Nethaniah, Johanan the son of Seraiah the son of Tanhumeth, the sons of Ephi the Netophathite, Jezaniah the son of the Maacathite, they and their men, Gedaliah the son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, swore to them and their men, saying, Do not be afraid to serve the Chaldeans. Dwell in the land and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. As for me, I will dwell at Mizpah to represent you before us, and dwell in your cities that you have taken. Likewise, when all the Judeans who were in Moab, and among the Ammonites, and in Edom, and in other, that the king of Babylon had left a remnant in Judah, and had appointed Gedaliah the son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, as governor over them, then all the Judeans returned from all the places to which they had been driven, and all the leaders of the forces in the open country came to Gedaliah at Mizpah, and said to him, Do you know that Baalis, the king of Ammonites, has sent Ishmael the son of Nethaniah to take your life? But Gedaliah the son of Ahikam would not believe them. Then Johanan the son of Kareah spoke secretly to Gedaliah at Mizpah, Please let me go. The Judeans who are gathered about you would be scattered, and the remnant of Judah would perish. But Gedaliah the son of Ahikam said to Johanan the son of Kareah, You shall not do this thing, for you are speaking falsely of Ishmael.
The third book of Moses, called Leviticus. Chapter 1. And the Lord called unto Moses, and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd and of the flock. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. And he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. And he shall kill the bullock before the Lord. And the priests, Aaron's sons, shall bring the blood, and sprinkle the blood round about upon the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall flay the burnt offering, and cut it into his pieces. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall put fire on the altar, and lay the wood in order upon the fire. And the priests, Aaron's sons, shall lay the parts, the head, and the fat, in order upon the wood that is on the fire which is upon the altar, to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire, of a sweet savor unto the Lord. And if his offering be of the flocks, namely of the sheep or of the goats, for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish, and he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before the Lord, and the priests, Aaron's sons, shall sprinkle his blood round about upon the altar, and he shall cut it into his pieces with his head and his fat, And the priest shall lay them in order on the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs with water. And the priest shall bring it all and burn it upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Lord be of fowls, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons. And the priest shall bring it unto the altar, and wring off his head, and burn it on the altar, and the blood thereof shall be wrung out at the side of the altar. And he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers, and cast it beside the altar on the east part by the place of the ashes. And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a savor unto the Lord.
The Book of First Chronicles. Adam, Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah. The sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. The sons of Gomer: Ashkenaz, Rephath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan: Elisha, Tarshish, the Kittites. The sons of Ham: Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush: Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Reumah, and Sabtuka. The sons of Reumah: Sheba and Dedan. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on earth. Egypt was the father of the Ludites, Anamites, Lehabites, Naphtuhites, Hathracites, Cashlahites, from whom the Philistines came, and Caphtorites. Canaan was the father of Sodom, Amorite, Girgashites, Hivites, Arkites, Sinites, Arvadites, Semarites, and Hamathites. The sons of Shem: Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram: Uz, Ul, Gether, and Meshach. Arphaxad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah the father of Eber. 2 sons were born to Eber. One was named Peleg, because in his time the earth was divided. His brother was named Joktan. Joktan was the father of Almodad, Shelith, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan. Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Sirach, Nahor, Terah, and Abram, that is, Abraham. The sons of Abraham: Isaac and Ishmael. These were their descendants: Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael. The sons born to Keturah, Abraham's concubine: Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. The sons of Jokshan: Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Midian: Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldaah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham was the father of Isaac. The sons of Isaac: Esau and Israel. The sons of Esau: Eliphaz, Ruel, Jeush, Jalem, and Korah. The sons of Eliphaz: Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. By Timnah, Amalek. The sons of Ruel: Nahab, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. The sons of Seor: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. The sons of Lotan: Hori and Homam. Timnah was Lotan's sister. The sons of Shobal: Alvan. The sons of Zibeon: Aiah. The son of Anah: Dishon. The sons of Dishon: Himdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Kiran. The sons of Ezer: Bilhan, Zeovan, and Achan. The sons of Dishan: Uz and Aaron. These were the kings who reigned in Edom before any Israelite king reigned. Bela, son of Beor, whose city was named Dinhabah. When Bela died, Jobab, son of Zerah from Basra, succeeded him as king. When Jobab died, Husham from the land of the Timonites succeeded him as king. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated Midian in the country of Moab, succeeded him as king. His city was named Aphith. When Hadad died, Samlah from Masrekah succeeded him as king. When Samlah died, Shul from Rehoboth on the river succeeded him as king. When Shul died, Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, succeeded him as king. When Baal-Hanan died, Hadad succeeded him as king. His city was named Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred. The daughter of Mezahab, Hadad also died. The chiefs of Edom were Timnah, Alva, Jepheth, Oholibamah, Elah, Pinan, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These were the chiefs of Edom.
Pact Theatre will be holding their free drama workshops for teenagers again these holidays. Pact has been introducing kids to theatre for over 12 years, teaching a simple but enjoyable children's show which is performed in the second week of the holidays. It's absolutely free. All you need is enthusiasm and a phone call to Pact Theatre to reserve your place at their free drama workshops.
The descendants of Judah: Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. Reah, son of Shobal, was the father of Jahath, and Jahath the father of Ahumai and Lahad. These were the clans of the Zorathites. These were the sons of Etam: Jezreel, Ishma, and Idbash. Their sister was named Hazelelponai. He knew the father of Gedor, and Ezer, the father of Hushah. These were the descendants of Hur, the firstborn of Ephrathah, and the father of Bethlehem. Asher, the father of Tekoa, had 2 wives, Helah and Heuhashtarai. These were the descendants of Naorah. The sons of Helah: Zereth, Zohar, Ethnan, and Koz, who was the father of Anab and Hazobebah, and of the clans of Aparhel, son of Haram. Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. His mother had named him Jabez, saying,
I gave birth to him in pain.
Jabez cried out to the God of Israel,
Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me and keep me from harm so that I will be free from pain.
And God granted his request. Caleb, Shua's brother, was the father of Meher, who was the father of Eshton. Eshton was the father of Beth-Rapha, Hosea, and Tehina, the father of Nahash. These were the men of Rechah, the sons of Kenaz, Othniel, and Seraiah. The sons of Othniel: Hathath and Meonothai. Meonothai was the father of Ophrah. Seraiah the father of Ge-Harashim. It was called this because its people were skilled workers. The sons of Caleb, son of Jephunneh: Iru, Elah, and Nahum. The son of Elah: Kenaz. The sons of Jehalalel: Zip. The sons of Ezra: Jether, Merid, Epher, and Jalen. One of Merid's wives gave birth to Miriam, Shammai, and Ishba, the father of Eshtemoa. His wife from the tribe of Judah gave birth to Jared, the father of Geder, Heber, the father of Soko, and Jekuthiel, the father of Zanoah. These were the children of Pharaoh's daughter, Bithiah, whom Merid had married. The sons of Hodiah's wife, the sister of Naham, the father of Keilah the Garmite, and Eshtemoa the Beugathite. The sons of Shimon: Amnon, Rinnah, Ben-Hanan, and Tilon. The descendants of Ishai: Zoheth and Ben-Zoheth. The sons of Shelah, son of Judah: the father of Leka, Leudah, the father of Marisha, and the clans of the linen workers at Beth-Ashbea. Joachim, the men of Gozeba, and Joash and Saraph, who ruled in Moab, and Jashuba-Lehim. These records are from ancient times. They were the potters who lived at Netai and Gedera. They stayed there and worked for the king. The descendants of Simeon: Nemuel, Jamin, Jarib, Zerah, and Shaul. Shallum was Shaul's son, Mibsam his son, and Mishma his son. The descendants of Mishma: Hamuel his son, Zachar his son, and Shimei his son. Shimei had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but his brothers did not have many children. So their entire clan did not become as numerous as the people of Judah. They lived in Beersheba, Moladah, Hazar-Shul, Bilhah, Ezem, Tolad, Beth-Biri, and Sheureim. These were their towns until the reign of David. Their surrounding villages were Etam, Ain, Rimmon, Token, and Ashan, 5 towns, and all the villages around their settlements. And they kept a genealogical record. Mishobah, Jamlik, Joshua, son of Amaziah, Joel, Jehu, son of Joshabiah, the son of Seraiah, the son of Asiel, also Elioenai, Jeukabah, Jesimiel, Benaiah, and Ziza, son of Shiphi, the son of Alan, the son of Jedaiah, the son of Shimros of their clans. Their families increased greatly, and they went to the outskirts of Gedor to the east of the valley in search of pasture for their flocks. They found rich, good pasture, and the land was spacious, peaceful, and quiet. Some Hamites had lived there formerly. The men whose names were listed came in the days of Hezekiah, king of Judah. They attacked. Then they settled in their place, because there was pasture for their flocks. And 500 of these Simeonites, led by Pelatiah, Neariah, Rephaiah, and Uziel, the Solokites who had escaped, and they have lived there to this day.
Joel chapter 1. The word of the Lord that came to Joel the son of Pethuel. Hear this, you elders, give ear, all inhabitants of the land. Has such a thing happened in your days, or in the days of your fathers? Tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children to another generation. What the cutting locust felt, the swarming locust has eaten. What the swarming locust left, the hopping locust has eaten. And what the hopping locust left, the destroying locust has eaten. Awake, you drunkards, and weep, and wail, all you drinkers of wine, because of the sweet wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. For a nation has come up against my land, powerful and beyond number. Its teeth are lion's teeth, and it has the fangs of a lioness. It has laid waste my vine, and splintered my fig tree. It has stripped off their bark, and thrown it down. Their branches are made white. Lament like a virgin wearing sackcloth, bridegroom of her youth. The grain offering and the drink offering are cut off from the house of the Lord. The priests mourn, the ministers of the Lord. The fields are destroyed, the ground mourns, because the grain is destroyed. The wine dries up, the oil languishes. Be ashamed, O tillers of the soil, wail, O vine dressers, for the wheat and the barley, because the harvest of the field has perished. The vine dries up, the fig tree languishes. Pomegranate, palm, and apple, all the trees of the field are dried up, and gladness dries up from the children of man. Put on sackcloth and lament, O priests. Wail, O ministers of the altar, because grain offering and drink offering are withheld from the house of your God. Consecrate a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the elders and all the inhabitants of the land to the house of the Lord your God, and cry out to the Lord. Alas, for day of the Lord is near, and as destruction from the Almighty it comes. Is not the food cut off before our eyes, joy and gladness from the house of our God? The seed shrivels under the clods, the storehouses are desolate, the granaries are torn down, because the grain has dried up. How the beasts groan, the herds of cattle are perplexed, because there is no pasture for them, even the flocks of sheep suffer. To you, O Lord, I call, for fire has devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and flame has burned all the trees of the field. Even the beasts of the field pant for you, because the water brooks are dried up, and fire has devoured the pastures of the wilderness.
Announced big savings on winter wear. Scoop on ladies' cardigans. These stylish acrylic long-sleeve V-neck cardigans in fancy knit style are available in assorted colours. Sizes 10 to 18. On special now at $9.98. At this price, they won't last long. Also, be quick for great-looking men's sweatshirts. Available in a range of colours and sizes. Super value at $9.48. Coles Variety Stores.
City, Auburn, Bankstown, Campsie, Hurstville, Cogra, Leichhardt, Liverpool, Maroubra Junction, Marrickville, Newtown, Rockdale and Warringah Mall. Carl's Variety Stores. Big savings on winter wear. On sale now until Saturday, June the 6th, or while stocks last.
Hello there, everyone. This is John Machin from Melbourne, reminding you for programs bright and breezy, light and easy. Stay tuned to the Hi-Fi service, the network with the personal touch.
Chapter 7. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy thou shalt not give, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the He is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day to do them. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments and keep and do them, that the Lord thy God shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy, thy wine and thine oil, the increase of thy kine and the flocks of thy sheep, in the land which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you or among your cattle. And the Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt which thou knowest on thee, but will lay them upon all them that hate thee. And thou shalt consume all the people which the Lord thy God shall deliver thee. Thine eye shall have no pity upon them, neither shalt thou serve their gods, for that will be a snare unto thee. If thou shalt say in thine heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Thou shalt not be afraid of them, but shalt well remember what the Lord thy God did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt, the great temptations which thine eyes saw, and the signs and the wonders, and the mighty hand, and the stretched out arm, whereby the Lord thy God brought thee out. So shall the Lord thy God do unto all the people of whom thou art afraid. Moreover, the Lord thy God will send the hornet among them, until they that are left and hide themselves from thee be destroyed. Thou shalt not be affrighted at them, for the Lord thy God is among you, a mighty God and terrible. And the Lord thy God will put out those nations before thee by little and little. Thou mayest not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee. But the Lord thy God shall deliver them unto thee, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction until they be destroyed. And he shall deliver their kings into thine hand, and thou shalt destroy their name from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before thee until thou have destroyed them. The graven images of their gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein. For it is an abomination to the Lord thy God. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thine house, lest thou be a cursed thing like it. But thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing.
Chapter 20. Now there happened to be there a worthless man, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjaminite, and he blew the trumpet and said, We have no portion in David, and we have no inheritance in the son of Jesse, every man to his tents, O Israel. So all the men of Israel withdrew from David and followed Sheba the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah followed their king steadfastly from the Jordan to Jerusalem. And David came to his house, care for the house, and put them in a house under guard, and provided for them, but did not go into them. So they were shut up until the day of their death, living as if in these, and be here yourself. So Amasa went to summon Judah, but he delayed beyond the set time that had been appointed. Now Sheba the son of Bichri will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your Lord's servants and pursue him, lest he get himself to fortified cities and escape from us. And there went out after him Joab's men, and the Kerethites, and the Pelethites, and all the mighty men. They went out from Jerusalem to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. When they were at the great stone that is in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Now Joab was wearing a soldier's garment, and over it was a belt with a sword in its sheath fastened on his thigh, and as he went forward it fell out. And Joab said to Amasa, Is it well with you, my brother? And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa did not observe the sword that was in Joab's hand. So Joab struck him with it in the stomach, and spilled his entrails to the ground without striking a second blow, and he died. Then Joab and Abishai his brother pursued Sheba the son of Bichri. And one of Joab's young men took his stand by Amasa and said, Whoever favors Joab, and whoever is for David, let him follow Joab. And Amasa lay wallowing in his blood in the highway, and anyone who came by, seeing him, stopped. And when the man saw that all the people stopped, he carried Amasa out of the highway into the field, and threw a garment over him. When he was taken out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. And Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel to Abel of Bethmaachah, and all the Bichrites assembled and followed him in. And all the men who were with Joab came and besieged him in Abel of Bethmaachah. They cast up a mound against the city, and it stood against the rampart, and they were battering the wall to throw it down. Then a wise woman called from the city, Listen, listen, tell Joab, Come here, that I may speak to you. And he came near her, and the woman said, Are you Joab? He answered, I am. Then she said to him, Listen to the words of your servant. And he answered, I am listening. Then she said, They used to say in former times, Let them but ask counsel at Abel, and so they settled the matter. I am one of those who are peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city that is a mother in Israel. Why will you swallow up the heritage of the Lord? Joab answered, Far be it from me, far be it that I should swallow up or destroy. That is not true. But a man of the hill country of Ephraim, called Sheba the son of Bichri, has lifted up his hand against King David. Give up him alone, and I will withdraw from the city. And the woman said to Joab, Behold, his head shall be thrown to you over the wall. Then the woman went to all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba the son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab. So he blew the trumpet, and they dispersed from the city, every man to his home. And Joab returned to Jerusalem to the king. Now Joab was in command of all the army of Israel, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada was in command of the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and Adoram was in charge of the forced labor, and Jehoshaphat the son of Ahilud was the recorder, and Sheva was secretary, and Zadok and Abiathar were priests, and Ira the Jairite was also David's priest.
Chapter 6. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel, and because of the Midianites the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains, and caves, and strongholds. And so it was, when Israel had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass. For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitude. For both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried unto the Lord. And it came to pass, when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt, and brought you forth out of the house of bondage. And I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and drave them out from before you from their land. And I said unto you, I am the Lord God. Fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But ye have not obeyed my voice. And there came an angel of the Lord, and sat under an oak which was in Ophrah, that pertained unto Joash the Abiezrite. And his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress, to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him, and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles, which our fathers told us of, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord hath forsaken us, and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. And the Lord looked upon him, and said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? And he said unto him, O my Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. And he said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, then show me a sign that thou talkest with me. Depart not hence, I pray thee, until I come unto thee, and bring forth my present, and set it before thee. And he said, I will tarry until thou come again. And Gideon went in, and made ready a kid, and unleavened cakes of an ephah of flour. The flesh he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and brought it out unto him unto the oak, and presented it. And the angel of God said unto him, Take the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and lay them upon this rock, and pour out the broth. And he did so. Then the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and there rose up fire out of the rock, and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes. Then the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. And when Gideon perceived that he was an angel of the Lord, Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, for because I have seen an angel of the Lord face to face. And the Lord said unto him, Peace be unto thee, fear not, thou shalt not die. Then Gideon built an altar there unto the Lord, and called it Jehovah Shalom. Unto this day it is yet in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, Take thy father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that thy father hath, and cut down the grove that is by it, and build an altar unto the Lord thy God upon the top of this rock in the ordered place, and take the second bullock, and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove which thou shalt cut down. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants, and did as the Lord had said unto him. And so it was, because he feared of his household and the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was cast down. Who hath done this thing? And when they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon the son of Joash hath done this thing. The men of the city said unto Joash, Bring out thy son that he may die, because he hath cast down the altar of Baal, and because he hath cut down the grove that was by it. And Joash said unto all that stood against him, Will ye plead for Baal? Will ye save him? He that will plead for him, let him be put to death whilst it is yet morning. If he be a god, let him plead for himself, because one hath cast down his. Therefore on that day he called him Jerubbaal, saying, Let Baal plead against him, because he hath thrown down his altar. Then all the Midianites, but the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, and Abiezer was gathered after him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, who also was gathered after him. And he sent messengers unto Asher, and unto Zebulun, and unto Naphtali, and they came up to meet them. And Gideon said unto God, If thou wilt save Israel by mine hand, as thou hast said, behold, I will put a fleece of wool in the floor. And if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth beside, then shall I know that thou wilt save Israel by mine hand, as thou hast said. And it was so. For he rose up early on the morrow, and thrust the fleece together, and wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. And Gideon said unto God, Let not thine anger be hot against me, and I will speak but this once. Let me prove, I pray thee, but this once with the fleece. Let it now be dry, Only upon the fleece and upon all the ground let there be dew. And God did so that night, for it was dry upon the fleece only, and there was dew on all the ground.
Joseph went and told Pharaoh,
My father and brothers, with their flocks and herds and everything they own, have come from the land of Canaan and are now in Goshen.
He chose 5 of his brothers and presented them before Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked the brothers,
What is your occupation? Your servants are shepherds.
They replied to Pharaoh,
Just as our fathers were.
They also said to him,
We have come to live here for a while because the famine is severe in Canaan, and your servants' flocks have no pasture.
So now, please let your servants settle in Goshen.
Pharaoh said to Joseph,
Your father and your brothers have come to you, and the land of Egypt is before you. Your father and your part of the land. Let them live in Goshen. And if you know of any among them with special ability, put them in charge of my own livestock.
Then Joseph brought his father Jacob in and presented him before Pharaoh. After Jacob blessed Pharaoh, Pharaoh asked him,
How old are you?
And Jacob said to Pharaoh,
The years of my pilgrimage are 130. My years have been few and difficult, and they do not equal the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers.
Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers in Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land, the district of Ramesses, as Pharaoh directed. Joseph also provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with food, according to the number of their children. There was no food, however, in the whole region, because the famine was severe. Both Egypt and Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in Egypt and Canaan in payment for the grain they were buying, and he brought it to Pharaoh's palace. When the money of the people of Egypt and Canaan was gone, all Egypt came to Joseph and said,
Give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? Our money is all gone.
Then bring your livestock,
said Joseph.
I will sell you food in exchange for your livestock, since your money is gone.
So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and he gave them food in exchange for their horses, their sheep and goats, their cattle and donkeys. And he brought them through that year with food in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was over, they came to him the following year and said,
We cannot hide from our Lord the fact that since our money is gone and our life belongs to you, there is nothing left for our Lord except our bodies and our land. Why should we perish before your eyes? We and our land as well. Buy us and our land in exchange for food, and we with our land will be in bondage to Pharaoh. Give us seed so that we may live and not die.
The Egyptians, one and all, sold their fields because the famine was too severe for them. The land became Pharaoh's, and Joseph reduced the people to servitude from one end of Egypt to the other. However, he did not buy the land of the priests, because they received a regular allotment from Pharaoh and had food enough from the allotment Pharaoh gave them. That is why they did not sell their land. Joseph said to the people,
But when the crop comes in, give 1/5 of it to Pharaoh. The other 4/5 you may keep as seed for the fields and as food for yourselves and your households and your children.
You have saved our lives.
They said,
May we find favor in the eyes of our Lord. We will be in bondage to Pharaoh.
So Joseph established it as a law concerning land in Egypt. It was only the land of the priests that did not become Pharaoh's. Now the Israelites settled in Egypt in the region of Goshen. They acquired property there and were fruitful and increased greatly in number. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, and the years of his for his son Joseph, and said to him,
If I have found favor in your eyes, put your hand under my thigh and promise that you will show me kindness and faithfulness. Do not bury me in Egypt, but when I rest with my fathers, carry me.
He said,
Swear to me.
he said. Then Joseph swore to him, and Israel worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff.
Have you heard of Calvary? Yeah. Jesus died for you and me and shed his blood with one desire. To harmonize God, you and I. Then ask me how this certain man, yes, masterly made his story. Oh, he rose up in the Father's Spirit.
Chapter 23. Now they told David, Behold, the Philistines are fighting against Keilah and are robbing the threshing floors. Therefore David inquired of the Lord, Shall I go and attack these Philistines? And the Lord said to David, We are afraid here in Judah. How much more then if we go to Keilah against the armies of the Philistines? Then David inquired of the Lord again, and the Lord answered him, Arise, go down to Keilah, for I will give the Philistines into your hand with a great blow. So David saved the inhabitants of Keilah. When Abiathar the son of Ahimelech had fled to David to Keilah, he had come down with an ephod in his hand. Now it was told Saul that David had come to Keilah, and Saul said, God has given him into my hand by entering a town that has gates and bars. And Saul summoned all the people to war, to go down to Keilah, to besiege David and his men. David knew that Saul was plotting harm against him, and he said to Abiathar the priest, Bring the ephod here. Then said David, O Lord, the God of Israel, your servant has surely heard that Saul seeks to come to Keilah to destroy the city on my account. Will the men of Keilah surrender me into his hand? Will Saul come down as your servant has heard? O Lord, the God of Israel, please tell your servant. And the Lord said, He will come down. Then David said, Will the men of Keilah surrender me and my men into the hand of Saul? And the Lord said, They will surrender you. Then David and his men, who were about 600, arose and departed from Keilah, and they went wherever they could go. When Saul was told that David had escaped from Keilah, he gave up the expedition. And David remained in the strongholds in the wilderness, in the hill country of the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul sought him every day, but God did not give him into his hand. David saw that Saul had come out to seek his life. David was in the wilderness of Ziph at Horesh. And Jonathan, Saul's son, rose and went to David at Horesh, and strengthened his hand in God. And he said to him, Do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find you. You shall be king over Israel, and I shall be next to you. Saul my father also knows this. And the two of them made a covenant before the Lord. David remained at Horesh, and Jonathan went home. Then the Ziphites went up to Saul at Gibeah, saying, Is not David hiding among us in the strongholds at Horesh, on the hill of Hachilah, which is south of Jeshimon? Now come down, O king, according to all your heart's desire to come down, and our part shall be to surrender him into the king's hand. And Saul said, May you be blessed by the Lord, for you have had compassion on me. Go, make yet more sure. Know and see the place where his foot is, and who has seen him there, for it is told me that he is very cunning. See therefore, and take note of all the lurking places where he hides, and come back to me with sure information. Then I will go with you, and if he is in the land, I will search him out among all the thousands of Judah. And they arose and went to Ziph ahead of Saul. Now David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the Arabah to the south of Jeshimon. And Saul and his men went to seek him. And David was told, so he went down to the rock and lived in the wilderness of Maon. And when Saul heard that, he pursued after David in the wilderness. Saul went on one side of the mountain, and David and his men on the other side of the mountain. And David was hurrying to get away from Saul. As Saul and his men were closing in on David and his men to capture them, messenger came to Saul, saying, "Hurry and come, for the Philistines have made a raid against the land." So Saul returned from pursuing after David and went against the Philistines. Therefore that place was called the Rock of Escape. And David went up from there and lived in the strongholds of En-Gedi.
Brighten your day and encourage your walk with Jesus. I'm Dr. Wes Stafford, inviting you to listen in as author, speaker, and comedian Ken Davis shares from his early years as a rocket scientist.
I got curious that day, and just by accident, I took it out and I decided to vacuum. I discovered some amazing things. If you men do not vacuum, I encourage you to do it. You'll be amazed. Vacuum cleaners don't pick up the most important stuff. I discovered, first of all, our cat was terrified of the vacuum cleaner and spent some real good quality time exploiting that. I also discovered that vacuum cleaners won't pick up, for instance, a toothpick or any small piece of grass that's on your carpet. That's embedded in the grass. It will not pick that up. A vacuum cleaner will pick up lint, but it just holds on to it for a while and deposits it in another place. Rubber bands, forget it. Yeah, it'll hit a rubber band and it just kicks a rubber band out into another place. I felt like an idiot in my own house, sneaking up on this rubber band. Finally, I gave up. I took off all the hoses and put the vacuum cleaner in the middle of the room and just brought stuff to it.
I hate things that don't work the way they're advertised. Vacuum cleaners, cell phones, it drives me crazy. Now, God doesn't always work like I think He's supposed to, but I can trust that He is working. For the believer, all things work together for good. I'm Ken Davis. Lighten up and live.
This has been Lighten Up, made possible by Compassion International. We invite you to visit us on the web at compassion.com.
Leviticus chapter 1. The Lord called Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, and say to them, when any one of you brings an offering to the Lord, you shall bring your offering of livestock from the herd or from the flock. If his offering is a burnt offering from the herd, he shall offer a male without blemish. He shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting, that he may be accepted before the Lord. He shall lay his hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. Then he shall kill the bull before the Lord, and Aaron's sons the priest shall bring the blood and throw the blood against the sides of the altar that is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then he shall flay the burnt offering and cut it into pieces, and the sons of Aaron the priest shall put fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. And Aaron's sons the priest shall arrange the pieces, the head and the fat, on the wood that is on the fire on the altar. But its entrails and its legs he shall wash with water. And the priest shall burn all of it on the altar as a burnt offering, a food offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If his gift for a burnt offering is from the flock, from the sheep or goats, he shall bring a male without blemish. And he shall kill it on the north side of the altar before the Lord, and Aaron's sons the priest shall throw its blood against the sides of the altar. And he shall cut it into pieces, with its head and its fat, and the priest shall arrange them on the wood that is on the fire on the altar. But the entrails and the legs he shall wash with water, offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If his offering to the Lord is a burnt offering of birds, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or pigeons. And the priest shall bring it to the altar and wring off its head, and burn it on the altar, and cast it beside the altar on the east side in the place for ashes. He shall tear it open by its wings, but shall not sever it completely. And the priest shall burn it on the altar, on the wood that is on the fire. It is a burnt offering, a food offering with a pleasing on us, that he may heal us. He has struck us down, and he will bind us up. After 2 days he will revive us. On the third day he will press on to know the Lord. His going out is sure as the dawn. He will come to us as the showers, as the spring rains that water the earth. What shall I do with you, O Ephraim? What shall I do with you, O Judah? Your love is like a morning. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and my judgment goes forth as the light. For I desire steadfast love and not sacrifice, the knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings. But like Adam, they transgressed the covenant. There they dealt faithlessly with me. Gilead is a city of evildoers, tracked with blood. As robbers of Israel, I have seen a horrible thing. Ephraim's whoredom is there, Israel is defiled. For you also, O Judah, a harvest is appointed when I restore the fortunes of my people.
So the men of Kiriath-jearim came and took up the ark of the Lord on the hill and consecrated Eleazar his son to guard the ark of the Lord. Then all the people of Israel turned back to the Lord. So Samuel said to the whole house of Israel,
And the Ashtoreths, and commit yourselves to the Lord and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines.
So the Israelites put away their Baals and Ashtoreths and served the Lord only. Then Samuel said,
Assemble all Israel at Mizpah, and I will intercede with the Lord for you.
When they had assembled at Mizpah, they drew water and poured it out before the Lord. On that day they fasted, and there they confessed,
We have sinned against the Lord.
Now Samuel was serving as leader of Israel at Mizpah. When the Philistines heard that Israel had assembled at Mizpah, the rulers of the Philistines came up to attack them. When the Israelites heard of it, they were afraid because of the Philistines. They said to Samuel,
Do not stop crying out to the Lord our God for us, that he may rescue us from the hand of the Philistines.
Then Samuel took a suckling lamb and sacrificed it as a whole burnt offering to the Lord. He cried out to the Lord on Israel's behalf, and the Lord answered him. While Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to engage Israel in battle. But that day the Lord thundered with loud thunder against the Philistines, and out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines, slaughtering them along the way to a point below Beth-kar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen. He named it Ebenezer, saying, Thus Israel's territory. Throughout Samuel's lifetime, the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines. The towns from Ekron to Gath that the Philistines had captured from Israel were restored, and Israel delivered the neighboring territory from the hands of the Philistines. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. Samuel continued as Israel's leader all the days of his life. From year to year, he went on a circuit from Bethel to Gilgal to Mizpah, judging Israel in all those places. But he always went back to Ramah, where his home was, and there he also held court for Israel. And he built an altar there to the Lord.
If a man divorces his wife, and she leaves him and marries another man, should he return to her again? Would not the land be completely defiled? But you have lived as a prostitute with many lovers. Would you now return to me?
Declares the Lord.
Look up to the barren heights and see, is there any place where you have not been ravished? By the roadside you sat waiting for lovers, sat like a nomad in the desert. You have defiled the land with your prostitution and wickedness. Therefore, the showers have been withheld, and no spring rains have fallen. Yet you have the brazen look of a prostitute. You refuse to blush with shame. Have you not just called to me?
My father, my friend from my youth, will you always be angry? Will your wrath continue forever?
This is how you talk, but you do all the evil you can.
During the reign of King Josiah, the Lord said to me,
Have you seen what faithless Israel has done? She has gone up on every high hill and under every spreading tree and has committed adultery there. I thought that after she had done all this, she would return to me, but she did not, and her unfaithful sister Judah saw it. I gave faithless Israel her certificate of divorce and sent her away because of all her adulteries. Yet I saw that her unfaithful sister Judah had no fear. She also went out and committed adultery. Because Israel's immorality mattered so little to her, She defiled the land and committed adultery with stone and wood. In spite of all this, her unfaithful sister Judah did not return to me with all her heart, but only in pretense.
Declares the Lord. The Lord said to me,
Faithless Israel is more righteous than unfaithful Judah. Go, proclaim this message toward the north. Return, faithless Israel, declares the Lord. I will frown on you no longer, for I am faithful, declares the Lord. I will not be angry forever, only acknowledge your guilt. You have foreign gods, and Lord, return, faithless people,
declares the Lord.
For I am your husband. I will choose you, one from a town and two from a clan, and bring you to Zion. Then I will give you shepherds after my own heart, who will lead you with knowledge and understanding. In those days, when your numbers have increased greatly in the land, declares the Lord, people will no longer say, the Ark of the Covenant. It will not be missed, nor will another one be made. At that time, they will call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all nations will gather in Jerusalem to honor the name of the Lord. In those days, the house of Judah will join the house of Israel, and together they will come from a northern land to the land I gave your ancestors as an inheritance. I myself said, how gladly would I treat you like my children and give you a pleasant land, the most beautiful inheritance of any nation. I thought you would call me Father and not turn away from following me, but like a woman unfaithful to her husband, so you, house of Israel, have been unfaithful to me,
declares the Lord. A cry is heard on the barren heights, the weeping and pleading of the people of Israel, because they have perverted their ways and have forgotten the Lord their God.
Return, faithless people. I will cure you of backsliding.
Yes, we will come to you. Hills and mountains is a deception. Surely in the Lord our God is the salvation of Israel.
From our youth, shameful gods have consumed the fruits of our ancestors' labor, their flocks and herds, their sons and daughters.
Let us lie down in our shame and let our disgrace cover us. We have sinned against the Lord our God, both we and our ancestors. From our youth till this day, we have not obeyed the Lord our God.
When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. So she said,
Am I in the place of God, who has kept you from having children?
Then she said,
Here is Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her so that she can bear children for me, and I too can build a family through her.
So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife. Jacob slept with her, and she became pregnant and bore him a son. Then Rachel said,
God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea.
And bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said,
I have had a struggle with my sister, and I have won.
So she named him Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said,
What good fortune.
So she named him Gad. Leah's servant,
Women will call me happy.
so she named him Asher to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah,
Please, give me some of your son's mandrakes.
But she said to her,
Wasn't it enough that you took away my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too?
Oh, very well.
said.
He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes.
So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him.
You must sleep with me.
She said,
I have hired you with my son's mandrakes.
So he slept with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said,
God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband.
So she named him Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Then Leah said,
God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor, because I have borne him 6 sons.
So she named him Zebulun. Sometime later she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said,
God has taken away my disgrace.
She named him Joseph and said,
May the Lord add to me another son.
After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban,
Send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. Give me my wives and children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much work I've done for you.
But Laban said to him,
If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you.
He added,
Name your wages, and I will pay them.
Jacob said to him,
You know how I have worked for you, and how your livestock has fared under my care. The little you had before I came has increased greatly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I have been. But now, when may I do something for my own household?
What shall I give you?
He asked.
Don't give me anything.
Jacob replied,
But if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages. And my honesty will testify for me in the future. Whenever you check on the wages you have paid me, any goat in my possession that is not speckled or spotted, or any lamb that is not dark-colored, will be considered stolen.
Agreed,
said Laban.
Let it be as you have said.
That same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and all the dark-colored lambs, and he placed them in the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob, however, took fresh-cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees, and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branch and came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they mated in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, but made the Reuben's animals. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the trough in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the rulers and came to own large flocks, and female and male servants, and camels and donkeys.
Psalm 40, to the choir master, a psalm of David. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear, and put their trust in the Lord. To those who go astray after a lie, you have multiplied, O Lord my God, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us. None can compare with you. I will proclaim and tell of them, yet they are more than can be told. Sacrifice and offering you have not desired, but you have given me an open ear. Burnt offering and sin offering you have not required. Then I said, Behold, I have come. In the scroll of the book it is written of me, I delight to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. I have told the glad news of deliverance in the great congregation. Behold, I have not restrained my lips, as you know, O Lord, and your salvation. I have not concealed your steadfast love and your faithfulness from the great congregation. As for you, O Lord, you will not restrain your mercy from me, encompassed me beyond number. My iniquities have overtaken me, and I cannot see. They are more than the hairs of my head. My heart fails me. Be pleased, O Lord, to deliver me. O Lord, make haste to help me. Let those be put to shame and disappointed altogether who seek to snatch away my life. Let those be turned back and brought to dishonor who delight in my hurt. Let those be appalled because of their shame who say to me, Aha, aha. But may all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. May those who love your salvation say continually, Great is the Lord. As for me, I am poor and needy, but the Lord takes thought for me. You are my help and my deliverer. Do not delay, O my God. Chapter 9. After these things had been done, the officials approached me and said, The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the peoples of the lands with their abominations, from the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken some of their daughters to be wives for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy race has mixed itself with the peoples of the lands. And in this faithlessness, the hand of the officials and chief men has been foremost. As soon as I heard this, I tore my garment and my cloak, and pulled hair from my head and beard, and sat appalled. Then all who trembled at the words of the God of Israel, because of the faithlessness of the returned exiles, gathered around me while I sat appalled until the evening sacrifice. And at the evening sacrifice I rose from my fasting, with my garment and my cloak torn, and fell upon my knees, and spread out my hands to the Lord my God, saying, O my God, I am ashamed and blush to lift my face to you, my God, for our iniquities have risen higher than our heads, and our guilt has mounted up to the heavens. From the days of our fathers to this day we have been in great guilt. And for our iniquities we, our kings and our priests, to plundering and to utter shame, as it is today. But now for a brief moment favor has been shown by the Lord our God, to leave us a remnant and to give us a secure hold within his holy place, that our God may brighten our eyes and grant us a little reviving in our slavery. For we are slaves, yet our God has not forsaken the house of our God, to repair its ruins, and to give us protection in Judea and Jerusalem. And now, O our God, what shall we say after this? For we have forsaken your commandments, which you commanded by your servants the prophets, saying, The land that you are entering, to take possession of it, is a land impure with the peoples of the lands, with their abominations that have filled it from end to end with their uncleanness. Therefore do not give your daughters to their sons, neither take their daughters for your sons, and never seek their peace or prosperity, that you may be strong and eat the good of the land, and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever. And after all that has come upon us for our evil deeds and for our great guilt, seeing that you, our God, have punished us less than our iniquities deserved, and have given us such a remnant as this, shall we break your commandments again, and intermarry with the peoples who practice these abominations? Would you not be angry with us until you consumed us, so that there should be no remnant, nor any to escape? O Lord, the God of Israel, you are just, for we are left a remnant that has escaped, as it is today. Behold, we are before you in our guilt, for none can stand before you because of this. Chapter 16. The word of the Lord came to me, You shall not take a wife, nor shall you have sons or daughters in this place. For thus says the Lord concerning the sons and daughters who are born in this place, and concerning the mothers who bore them, and the fathers who fathered them in this land. They shall die of deadly diseases. They shall not be lamented, nor shall they be buried. They shall be as dung on the surface of the ground. They shall perish by the sword and by famine. And their dead bodies shall be food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the earth. For thus says the Lord, Do not enter the house of mourning, or go to lament or grieve for them, for I have taken away my peace from this people, my steadfast love and mercy, declares the Lord. Both great and small shall die in this land. They shall not be buried, and no one shall lament for them, or cut himself, or make himself bald for them. No one shall break bread for the mourner, to comfort him for the dead, nor shall anyone give him the cup of consolation to drink for his father or his mother. You shall not go into the house of feasting to sit with them, to eat and drink. For thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will silence in this place before your eyes and in days the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. And when you tell this people all these words, and they say to you, Why has the Lord pronounced all this great evil against us? What is our iniquity? What is the sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? Then you shall say to them, Because your fathers have forsaken me, declares the Lord, and have gone after other gods, and have served and worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. And because you have done worse than your fathers, for behold, every one of you follows his stubborn evil will, refusing to listen to me. Therefore, I will hurl you out of this land into a land that neither you nor your fathers have known. And there you shall serve other gods day and night, for I will show you no favor. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when it shall no longer be said, As the Lord liveth, and out of all the countries where he had driven them. For I will bring them back to their own land that I gave to their fathers. Behold, I am sending for many fishers, declares the Lord, and they shall catch them. And afterward I will send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and every hill, and out of the clefts of the rocks. For my eyes are on all their ways. They are not hidden from me, nor is their iniquity concealed from my eyes. But first I will doubly repay their iniquity and their sin, because they have polluted my land with the carcasses of their detestable idols, and have filled my inheritance with their abominations. O Lord, my strength and my stronghold, my refuge in the day of trouble, to you shall the nations come from the ends of the earth and say, Our fathers have inherited nothing but lies, worthless things in which there is no profit. Can man make for himself gods? Such are not gods. Therefore, behold, I will make them know, this once I will make them know my power and my might, and they shall know that my name is the Lord.
48. And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, Behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob and said, Behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, It was in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, Behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude. And now thy 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt before I came unto thee into Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon they shall be mine. And thy issue, which thou begettest after them, shall be thine, and shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance. And as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way, when yet there was but a little way come unto Ephrath. And I buried her there in the way of Ephrath, the same is Bethlehem. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons, and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, They are my sons, whom God hath given me in this place. And he said, Bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not thought to see thy face, and lo, God hath showed me also thy seed. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel guiding his hands wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph, and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the God, and let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. He had his father's head removed from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people. He shall become a multitude of nations. And he blessed them that day, saying, In thee shall Israel bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, Behold, I die, but God shall be with you, and bring you again unto the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to thee one bow.
All this I have told you so that you will not fall away. They will put you out of the synagogue. In fact, the hour is coming when those who kill you will think they are offering a service to God. They will do such things because they have not known the Father or me. I have told you this, so that when their hour comes, you will remember that I warned you about them. I did not tell you this from the beginning because I was with you, but now I am going to him who sent me. None of you asks me. Truly, I tell you, it is for your good that I am going away. Unless I go away, the advocate will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. When he comes, he will prove the world to be in the wrong about sin and righteousness and judgment. About sin, because the Father, where you can see me no longer. And about judgment, because the prince of this world now stands condemned. I have much more to say. The Spirit of truth comes. He will guide you into all the truth. He will not speak on his own. He will speak only what he hears, and he will tell you what is yet to come. He will glorify me because it is from me that he will receive what he will make known to you. He will make known to you. He went on to say, In a little while you will see me no more. And then after a little while, you will see me.
At this, some of his disciples said to one another,
What does he mean by saying, In a little while you will see me no more, and then after a little while you will see me, and because I am going to the Father?
They kept asking, What does he mean by a little while? We don't understand what he is saying. Jesus saw that they wanted to ask him about.
You will see me no more, and then after a little while you will see me. Very truly, I tell you, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. A woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come. But when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of her joy that a child is born into the world. So with you, take away your joy. In that day, you will no longer ask me anything. Very truly, I tell you, my Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. Until now, you have not asked for anything in my name. Ask, and you will receive, and your joy will be complete. Though I have been speaking figuratively, a time is coming when I will no longer use this kind of language, but will tell you plainly about my Father. In that day you will ask in my name. I am not saying that I will ask the Father on your behalf. No, the Father himself loves you because you have loved me and have believed that I came from God. I came from the Father and entered the world. Now I am leaving the world and going back to the Father.
Then Jesus' disciples said,
Now you are speaking clearly and without figures of speech. Now we can see that you know all things and that you do not even need to have anyone ask you questions. This makes us believe that you came from God.
Do you now believe?
Jesus replied,
A time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will be scattered, each to your own home. You will leave me all alone, yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world.
Chapter 2. And Joshua the son of Nun sent 2 men secretly from Shittim as spies, saying, Go view the land, especially Jericho. And they went and came into the house of a prostitute whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. And it was told to the king of Jericho, Behold, men of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land. Then the king of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, Bring out the men who have come to you, who entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land. But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. And she said, True, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from. And the gate was about to be closed at dark, but she had brought them up to the roof, and hid them with the stalks of flax that she had laid in order on the roof. So the men pursued after them on the way to the Jordan as far as the fords. And the gate was shut as soon as the pursuers had gone out. Before the men lay down, she came up to them on the roof, and said to the men, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you devoted to destruction. And as soon as we heard it, our hearts melted, and there was no spirit left in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that, as I have dealt kindly with you, you also will deal kindly with my father's house, and give me a sure sign, that you will save alive my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death. And the men said to her, Our life for yours, even to death. If you do not tell this business of ours, then when the Lord gives us the land, we will deal kindly and faithfully with you. Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was built into the city wall, so that she lived in the wall. And she said to them, Go into the hills, or the pursuers will encounter you, and hide there 3 days until the pursuers have returned. Then afterward you may go your way. The men said to her, We will be guiltless with respect to this oath of yours that you have made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land, you shall tie this scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down. And you shall gather into your house your father and mother, your brothers, and all your father's household. Then if anyone goes out of the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we shall be guiltless. But if a hand is laid on anyone who is with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head. But if you tell this business of ours, then we shall be guiltless with respect to your oath that you have made us swear. And she said, According to your word, so be it. Then she sent them away, and they departed, and she tied the scarlet cord in the window. They departed and went into the hills, and remained there 3 days, until the pursuers returned. And the pursuers searched all along the way, and found nothing. Then the 2 men returned. They came down from the hills, and passed over, and came to Joshua the son of Nun, and they told him all that had happened to them. And they said to Joshua, Truly the Lord has given all the land into our hands, and also all the inhabitants of the land melt away because of us.
Chapter 5. And the Philistines took the ark of God, and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon, and set it by Dagon. And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. And they took Dagon, and set him in his place again. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. And the head of Dagon, and both the palms of his hands, were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him. Therefore neither the priests of Dagon, nor any that come into Dagon, tread on the threshold of Dagon and Ashdod unto this day. But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them Ashdod, and he destroyed them, and smote them with emerods, even Ashdod and the coasts thereof. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, The ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us, and upon Dagon our God. They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines unto them, and to Gath. And they carried the ark of the God of Israel about thither. And it was so that after they had carried it about, The hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emerods in their secret parts. Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron. And it came to pass, as the ark of God came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, They were lords of the Philistines, and said, Send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it go again to his own place, that it slay us not and our people. For there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. And the men that died not were smitten with the emerods, and the cry of the city went up to heaven.
Now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side, a man of standing from the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi,
Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor.
Naomi said to her,
Go ahead, my daughter.
So she went out, entered a field, and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she found herself working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. Just then Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters.
The Lord be with you.
The Lord bless you.
They answered. Boaz asked the overseer of his harvesters,
Who does that young woman belong to?
The overseer replied,
She is the Moabite who came back from Moab with Naomi. She said, Please, let me glean and gather among the sheaves behind the harvesters. She came into the field and has remained here from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter.
So Boaz said to Ruth,
My daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the harvesters are working, and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you. And whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars the men have filled.
At this she bowed down with her face to the ground. She asked him,
Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner?
Boaz replied,
I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. How you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with the people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge.
May I continue to find favor in your eyes, my Lord. You have reassured me and have spoken kindly to your servant, though I do not have the standing of one of your servants.
At mealtime, Boaz said to her,
Come over here. Have some bread and dip it in the wine vinegar.
When she sat down with the harvesters,